Can we see what you had the first couple of slides? These two. That's for the camera thing. Didn't have one for that.
conference session Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m.
Will Hyman, Gary T, Jim Malvern, Gary Frickle, Wayne Moore,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jenkins,
Here.
Mayor Marino.
Here. On the agenda, discussion, proposed budget fiscal year 2023, 2024. I'll let our interim city manager begin.
Do y'all have copies of your budgets in front of you? We'll start on page 1. As you can see, there's some small increases in some of the revenue streams. Nothing of any major importance, but personal properties, we're expecting 2.7 million. As we go down through there, oil and gas, 80,000. Actually expecting a slight decrease from Dominion Hope on public utility of 20,000. That's 120,000. Mon Power should be the same. Small difference in our telecommunications from Frontier, 12,000. Water and Sewage Board is the same. Waste management, most of these items, we're kind of up and down. The biggest thing that I want to draw your attention to is obviously if you guys want to jump to page 6 in the center, you'll see a contribution from market fund lost revenue of $2,254,728. I want you to understand that this contribution that we're seeking in this year's budget is not to balance the general fund budget. As we go through the budget, you'll see in the different departments, capital expenses, one-time expenses, equipment, monetary things that these departments have requested, and this ARPA revenue is to cover that. Okay, it is not to balance the general fund budget. I want you to understand that. Or the general fund budget can stand on its own based on what we feel is the perceived or expected revenues coming in next year.
Can I ask, can we ask back and forth as we're
Sure,
going?
yes, yeah.
That 2,250,000, that is accounted for in this budget through buying different items. Is that correct?
Correct. And as you go through your budget, as you go through the different departments, you'll see highlighted items in yellow that bounce back to this money.
Okay. Then will there be some point in time that it'll say if we use this 2 million, that how much is going to be left in that ARPA fund?
Let me give you that now.
We
You
made
got
a
that
spreadsheet
calculated?
on that.
Should have done these handouts in the beginning, shouldn't I?
Uh,
You got, this is my first time. That'd be great.
No, I just,
This shows everything that's been allocated so far, and then how much would be left, and then there's some recommendations from staff underneath, and then what would be left if you took those suggestions.
and this all is in this year's budget. Fund, the Visitors and Convention Bureau, like 50,000, that's coming out of the,
No. All this is not in the budget. This is what has been paid out of the ARPA fund so far.
Oh, so
What he
far.
just gave you.
Okay.
If
Yes.
you look on the date, there was the date allocated, it shows when that money.
I see, okay.
So
That's
Thank
when it
you.
was approved.
Just bear with me, I just gotta get up to speed here. This is the first time I've seen any of this stuff. Okay, that makes sense. Now, down here at the bottom here, I see staff suggestions, and that's the library payback in that 297,000. Is that you're suggesting to do the ARPA funds to pay that all back? I thought we were going to do a payment plan.
Well, I didn't know. That's not
This is-
actually
this is
in the
just-
budget.
This is just a suggestion. These are, we haven't settled on anything in regards to Chief Kitty can reflect on that, but
Okay.
we have had no more discussions with the.
Oh, okay, but we did talk about using general fund monies
Which we can.
and we can do that,
This
but
is this first.
first,
This
okay,
first one basically is to try to set what to give you the information, give you some time to mull it over. The latter part of February and that last week between the 20th and the 24th, this will be the time when you guys can come back and direct us. We want to do it this way.
okay, yeah, I'm
If that
just
helps.
asking questions,
Yes,
I
sir.
really don't, I mean, you guys are doing it, go ahead.
I had a question on the library, the 297,000. Is that an expenditure that we could use ARPA funds for?
I think definitely out of the lost revenue that we can pull into general fund. I think it is, but I'll have to get back with you on the exact specification as to what it falls under.
Okay, appreciate that.
The roofs in the public works, that was just for the garage, not for the office. I also see the offices also needing a roof.
Right.
Yeah, last year we did all the flat roofs.
No, we can't do that in-house, that roof on top of the office.
That goes to 20-year shape of roof, that building was built in 1999. It's not leaking yet.
Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, Chief Kitty said he could give you some information about the library.
Reference to the library, I think they're waiting for the city to present them with some type of payment. Since they feel we owe the money, they don't feel it's up to them to state how they want their money.
You're right.
They're waiting for us to, I think, come up with some solution, present it to them.
Right,
And I think some are thinking of, we're waiting on them, but they're actually waiting on us.
Yeah, the last
I think we just gotta get together with.
yeah.
the last discussion we had, Kim sent us 4 options through an email, and we haven't really decided on that, so that's.
Yeah, that's where we were at, is through options, paying how much, so much and so forth. And I know you had given us that, and that's why I thought that possibly would be in that budget if we go option A, B, C. I think you had 4,
Didn't know
didn't
which
you?
way you all
Yeah.
wanted to do it, so we can definitely put that in there. We can choose one of them and put that in there.
I
Can
send
can
you
you get
an
us a
email.
copy of those options again, so we could, look
Only
at
2
that?
options will actually apply, because the other ones you can't really even, that's future budgets anyways, right?
True. True, you can't bind future councils, so.
Can past councils encumber us with a debt like they did?
Probably not.
Huh?
Probably not.
I would say not. They encumbered this council with a debt that shouldn't even be facing us, so, just a comment.
Are we good with the ARPA report? Moving on, which brings us down to, I don't think we need to go over line by line all the revenues unless you'd like to. Thank you.
How much time you got?
Which brings us down to a total revenue that we perceive we're going to receive next year of $21,824,550.
What page you on?
I'm on page 9, I'm sorry, sir. Now, bear in mind, that does include that 2 million ARPA fund contribution, because as we reflect the expenses as we go through these departments, it's going to reflect that in these departments. So we can kind of pick and choose as we go through like a cafeteria plan. As you guys look at this, I know it's pretty complicated, or at least extensive, so you can get a chance to look at it. So that's our proposed revenues for the year, or for the fiscal year 23-24. Next up would be the Economic Development Department. Unfortunately, Mr. Whitmore is not with us today. He's tested positive for COVID. So we don't see any major increases. The salary and wage increase that you see there, I instructed Kim when we were talking to put a 5% cost of living allowance raise in for all employees. So what you're seeing in that 166,000 is the 5% COLA. for the wages for that department. I think it stretches over a couple of
I'd like to have a discussion possibly on the facade grant program. Some of the meetings I've seen, I know they may want to request more. I don't know if that request would come from,
You on page 10?
yeah, I don't know if that request would come from our liaison or Whitmore or whoever. I know they've had that discussion. I know the workshop they did.
Yeah, during the workshop, there was the number of 50,000 was thrown out at the workshop, but that has never, I mean, that'll have to be probably brought up. We have a URA meeting Thursday evening, so it may come up on an agenda item there. But
And maybe if they would put together some numbers and kind of, see where they were starting to run out or opportunities they may have missed, and maybe they can come to the next budget.
Was that
discussion.
meeting canceled, Steve?
I don't know.
No.
I saw an
Paul was gonna
email.
reach out to Amy, because John obviously can't attend that one as well. She may not have heard back from her, but she said the last time someone was sick, she said it was, they did cancel the meeting, so they may postpone that as well.
Okay, I didn't know if with John being in the shape he was in, if we would go.
Yeah, I mean, without him here, I mean, he's kind of pivotal. in
Right.
the Discussions for the URA.
Now, what does the 30,678 represent
That's how much they've spent so far this year.
so far this year?
Mhm.
So, and we had 40,000 budgeted?
Yeah.
Yes,
So there's still some monies left.
yeah,
And that will run out and expire on July 30th of this year?
June 30th.
I mean, June 30th.
Yeah, and they actually have another one on the agenda coming up for, I think, about 7,000.
Yeah, they have an applicant, actually two.
Two.
There's two on there now.
2 more.
So I think that should probably clean up this remaining balance.
What's the max on those grants now as it
It
states?
is 20 now, I believe.
20?
URA raised it last
I thought it was
year.
10.
Is it 10?
I thought it was 10.
It might be 10. No,
So if it was 20, we could go way over budget
It
or,
must be 10.
I think it's 10,000.
Sorry.
They talked about raising it at the workshop, but, they felt that, the money, I think
Yeah, I think they ran an issue because they raised it, but then the amount that's in their budget didn't really raise to really reflect that. So the ability to use that as an actually impactful would only make sense that we raise their fund a little bit as well.
there are two items up for consideration at this URA meeting that should pretty much finish that budget out. Any questions on
So there's nothing else in the URA about this, well, I know it's economic development, but, with the future discussions of any other programs that they're working on with the sod lot or whether it's the land bank, I mean.
unfortunately, John did leave me a narrative. I can read it to you if you like.
And we can wait till he's back if you want to, I mean, this is all process, so.
when we're going to meet again to go over this
Yes, sir.
again?
Sometime between the 20th and, that'll be up to you guys. We can make that decision this evening. But our schedule that we sent out proposed a second meeting, a second budget meeting, obviously for you guys to have a chance to look at this, make your corrections, and make recommendations back to us. And that would happen sometime between the 20th and the 24th. And then,
It will go on the agenda in March,
Then March
2
2nd.
readings.
it'll be the first reading of the proposed balanced budget.
Okay.
That gives us time to modify things and
Okay.
adapt. But I can give you copies of Mr. Whitmore's things, or we can discuss it at the next time.
Okay.
Moving along, we'll go to city council. I'm sorry.
And you might, you got HCEDC for $25,000. Is that the Harrison County Economic Development Authority, and that's their,
That's it.
will they be presented in requesting or,
It's in the packet.
in
It's
the
there.
packet?
Yes, there's information from them in your agency packet.
Agency, okay. They personally we won't have those people
Well,
come and
about
present
having
to
them
us?
at the next session.
Yeah, we didn't figure it would be, we needed them here tonight. We thought, again, to give you time to look at this.
Okay,
We
yeah.
maybe
and then-
send it out digitally, but that really isn't a good way to physically put hands on it. So we thought maybe bring these agencies to the next one.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
This was a little bit short notice. I think we didn't even get this in the books until last Thursday, so.
Can we go back to the capital outlay program on page 10 real
Yes,
quick,
sir.
briefly? And can we talk about the last three items on page 10? Mobile electronic display boards, on-track Main Street downtown events, and of course, down at the bottom is the streetscape sidewalk fund. I'm good. I'm kind of lost at exactly what the first two are, at least.
All right, I can give you the mobile electronic display board. This is a report from Mr. Whitmore.
Okay.
This request allows for the purchase of 2 mobile display boards, federal highway compliant, changeable mobile signs to assist in economic development, wayfinding, and emergency situations.
So they're kind of like the road signs that the DOH
Yeah, I think
uses?
you mentioned it, yeah.
Chief, maybe can answer that.
Actually, a gentleman came up a few months ago and showed me these signs. There's what you see on the interstate, the arrows, boards and stuff.
Yeah, and they say like right lane closed ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he showed it to his Outbacks, and I believe Mr. Whitmore came out there too. We had talked about it, about just like safety issues at the Robinson Green. We have a big event, putting up a signboard, slow down, pedestrians.
I got you.
Different events, using these signs and festival for parking.
Sure.
Into the Jackson Square, or if there's emergency lane closures. Yeah,
I just wasn't sure what they were. I wasn't quite sure exactly what they were.
They're kind of on a trailer, utility trailer.
Do you like how they looked and worked, Mark?
Yes. You can program them, you can change the program at your computer at the office. You don't have to be right there at the thing. You can even add radars to it later. There's all kinds of tools you can use it for. But the biggest thing was, I thought it would be a safety thing for, especially the Robinson Green.
Yeah.
People crossing the street down there, because I hate to say it, at some point something's gonna happen. Somebody down there getting hit by, especially in the evenings or something, just to slow people down.
Makes sense.
Is that 40,000 for how many? How many is that, 2?
Yes, sir.
And I guess that second item, on-street, Main Street, downtown events. I got a message recently from Mr. Spatafor, the Clarksburg History Museum, trying to acquire funding for First Fridays and stuff like that.
According to Mr. Whitmore, it says this request allows for external expenses relating to the establishment of a Clarksburg Main Street organization, a method to provide state-level funding on planning to activities currently being arranged by non-governmental organizations, nonprofits, the CBB, and other agencies in Clarksburg.
Okay.
That's what that $10,000 is for.
So the $10,000 will be to give seed money to the Main Street organization?
However you want to interpret that, I would imagine that's probably what it is.
Paul, could you speak more on that?
I mean, I believe the Main Street organization is very helpful, especially for downtown events as a nonprofit to be able to, gain sponsorships, for different events that maybe a First Friday committee that's not a nonprofit cannot do. But I was just wondering if there was going to be, this money was going to be a seed money to start it, and if there was going to be like a director of that Main Street organization.
He just has your request allows for external expenses relating to the establishment of a Clarksburg Main Street organization.
So that'll be more of a Mr. Whitmore question than
Yeah.
he's back. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, he printed this report or sent this report in today because he wasn't gonna be able to be here. But we can get more information, obviously, when he attends on the 20th.
I was curious, like I said, Mr. Spatafor from the History Museum, and obviously he's involved with First Friday events. And he had wrote me about trying to find some more sponsors and stuff like that for the First Friday event. And apparently he was saying that it's not a City of Clarksburg sanctioned event. It's not a CVB sanctioned event. So they're kind of stuck paying for stuff out of their own pocket. And I was curious if maybe we had a solution for that. But I guess we can maybe bring him in here. He'll probably be in here at the end of the month when we talk about it again. So
And your
we can,
third
we can
one,
cross that bridge when we come to it, I suppose.
the third one,
No, not so much. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know more about that, the streetscape.
I mean, I'd like to know more about it. I thought it had something to do with possibly the grant we just got or
I
something.
can
like
read you his narrative.
that. Okay, sure, go ahead.
In conducting the planning associated with the Main Street sidewalk repair, staff will be providing 5 and 10-year capital improvement programs to repave, repair all sidewalks in the downtown between South Chestnut and South Second. Preliminary estimates indicate that portions of Main Street sidewalk between South Third and South Fourth will cost approximately $220,000. This line should be evaluated into consolidation into a larger capital escrow account associated with the 5-year CIP planning. If that helps you understand what this is for.
Thank you.
Doesn't tell me anything. But I'll give you copies of this prior to you.
I think he's talked about establishing a fund for that and then placing it somewhere so that it accrues money.
It sounds like he's
To
one to
when
set
we
up
do
an
it.
escrow account.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions on economic development? There was a substantial increase if you look in the total economic development package, and most of those is as a result of, he's got some other things in here, downtown streetscape beautification, land reuse agency. These are all new items, and he does, like I said, he does cover all those in his narrative, but he probably can elaborate much more on these. Parking garage structural analysis, the Arbor Day program, downtown wayfinding signage, and the URA Historic Structural Internal Repairs Fund. So these all are what led to the large growth in the economic development budget. Any other questions on that? Next section is the mayor section. Everything there remained unchanged, with the exception of dental and vision insurance premiums, and I think Kim can reflect there's at least a 9 to 10% increase.
That's just on PEI,
Yeah, okay.
How much increase is it?
9.7%.
Dang,
We haven't had one in a few years.
it's been several years, I know that.
Cut it out.
What about the retirees? Do you have information on what they're going up?
I don't. They haven't
I'm
sent
concerned.
anything yet. They just sent us one email that said to budget 9.7%.
Wow, that's pretty significant. I'd rather them do a couple percent over the years instead of hitting 9%, but you can't dictate what they're going to do.
The total for the mayor, you can see that the budgeted amount for 22-23 was 18,686, and the new budget total is 19,151. So you're looking at about a $500 budget increase in the total mayor's expenses. Next item is city council. Again, very small increases there.
Well, the mayor's youth council, we're still doing that? It says $1,000.
We didn't do it this year, but I would say we would. How much is it? I want to see it.
We have $1,000 appropriated for it, but there's no expenses out of that this year.
No, there will be none. That's
Okay.
I was in the hospital
But we did rebudget the same amount for
shoulder
it.
surgery and wasn't able to do that this year.
Moving right along, finishing page 12 and moving to 13. Total city council budget went up about $3,000. Most of the line items, there was a small increase in the meeting and registration fees. Actually, a decrease in contractual services went down by $1,500. So that's a very small amount. Under the city manager, all those line items remain virtually the same with the exception of the health coverage and the, some of the items that we obviously have no control over.
I had a question on the city manager section. The actual year to total, the 56,217, does that include what we've paid for the increases of the interims?
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
We saved 3,600 on auto allowance this year, if that helps. See, Kitty and myself already had vehicles.
Bucking for a promotion, huh?
What's that?
Bucking for a promotion?
Next is the finance department. Kim, do you want to take care of that?
Really, I believe we did the 5% COLA and of course the increase for PEIA. And really, we did not, we had to request an increase in postage. Yeah, and I believe those are the only increases. We do have a decrease in the liability and property insurance. We don't know the exact premiums yet for next year, but we had budgeted, way over budgeted last year, so we added about a 5% increase just in case this year.
Will you be putting that out or not?
Not this year.
Because you saved money from last year.
We did save money, yes, and then the changeover in city manager, we just didn't have the time to get anything out.
Are you guys fully staffed, or what's the?
We are still short one person, but we did not put it in this year. I mean, I'm happy to do that if council wishes it, but
What position?
it is the account investigator position.
Can that position pay for itself?
I think it can, yeah.
Would we be able to track that and monitor it? And if it does, fine. If it doesn't,
Yes.
I mean, I think it's important. I think we're losing a lot of dollar bills out there on the hill and everywhere else by not having somebody checking that. That's just my opinion of it. I think it could pay for itself.
I mean, what do we do if it doesn't? We just fire them?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to, if they're not doing their job, you create, you have to see, that's all. I mean, that position, there's a lot of monies out there that we're not taking in, I can assure you that.
You know, I just didn't know this, subject to write a contract, if you don't bring in this much money, then you're going. I don't know how that works.
I don't know, I mean, that's something Kim could, work on and think about, is that something that we can draft up some language that,
I'll talk to Richard.
But I do think that there's a lot of money that's being left on the table by not having somebody checking on these contractors and subs and so forth and so on. There's a lot of money there.
Can always use more help, yes.
Nevertheless, let's discuss it and come to the conclusion that we strongly believe that person could do that, rather than putting language in there and forcing them to try to read a number. I don't know if that's the way to have somebody working for us, but I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
I definitely think it's an important position.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's something you can do through attrition if the position's not making money. And I'm not saying you don't hire somebody and then fire them if they're not making money. You do it through attrition and move them into another position.
We have clerical staff that leave in different locations. We could probably reposition that same individual to a different department.
Yeah.
I had a question on that. I mean, I support, the addition of the employer, the shifting to, to have that position. But my question is, has that, based upon your experience, has that position in the past, paid for itself and brought in a lot of revenue to our city?
It was really before I came on board. But from what I can tell from past records, yes, because there was someone going out to construction sites and making sure those folks were licensed and talking to them and teaching them how to file the taxes and all that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, getting
Yeah.
some more
That-
contact.
That sounds like a slam dunk.
That concludes everything in the finance department.
Yes.
City clerk's office. The only increases that you see there were increases as a result of the 5% COLA and the health insurance premiums.
What page are you on there?
I'm on page 16, sir.
16. Okay.
We did increase the advertising and legal because if you see we went way over budget on that. You know, we had budgeted $1,500 and we're $8,500. So we increased it to $3,000. But other than that, most of the other line items remain the same. And if you look at the actual proposed budget that we worked from 22-23, it's actually $100 less in total contractual costs. The total clerk budget, the increases are mostly as a result of the pay increase and the insurance premium increases. Police judge, again, it's the same reflection of insurances and expenses there. We had budgeted so far for this year, $126,500 in legal services, and we did take that down to $78,500 in legal services.
Where's that at?
I'm at the
18.
top of page 18. And you can see the breakdown on the first 5 line items. We've paid nothing to Steptoe and Johnson. Other legal fees were at quite a reduction there. Robinson and McElwee, slight difference, and paid $29,427 to legal city attorney fees. So we did drop that one down by about $45,000. Okay, turn it over to code enforcement. As we walk through this, if you have any questions, actually, we're more happy to answer your questions.
No. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say you're gonna go through them. I'll wait to about the vehicle then to get to them.
The small increase in total personal services, again, is reflected for the, not much reason to go over that line by line, but it's reflective of the insurance premiums and the pay increases. Data charge, travel expenses, we actually went down on travel by 2,000. We did increase the education, meeting and registration fees, and I'll let that actually explain to you what that's about.
The registration fees is for the ICC membership for their certification, testing, and maintenance of their current license that they hold. Everything's going up. That's gonna go up too. It's went up a little bit, so there was a small increase in that. But our budget's similar to it was last year. I've got actual price quotes from ICC and everything in my folder here. Our Lorman education, we use that for CEU maintenance. We've already paid that this year. American Stormwater Institute, we got another training coming up for that for the MS4 stormwater. I got 2 other inspectors. I'm gonna get certified in that. That way everybody's get together. but our budget basically pretty plain Jane, similar to last year. Not a lot of increase in revenue or anything requested, just things that we need to operate.
Put this vehicle in there for you.
Oh, yeah. You know, we do have a couple older vehicles in the fleet that we need to think about doing something with, possibly looking for another used vehicle or something. But, got a couple, I got 2002 and a 2004, so they're getting some age on them.
You budget what, 25,000 for a new one or for a replacement?
That's
Is
what
that
we
right?
have.
No, where's the cost for, how much you guys spend on fuel now? Is that in Public Works, is that all blended in with because the pumps
It's
over
all
there?
together.
We don't have the tracking system set up yet to track individual users or departments yet to see what kind of fuel costs.
You say yet, or are you looking into that, or
Yeah, there was a,
that'll be on Johnny's?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
right, it's in place, we just haven't instituted it yet.
okay.
Yeah, we'll be able to track down to the individual person getting his fuel as to how the departments are running. That'll be-
When did we get that, Johnny? How long?
It was put in a couple months back. We did sit down with, finance, we had to come up with a system of identification of the employee. So we punched their identification number, vehicle number, you know, what you, with that, with identified, we saw a few things.
I remember talking about this.
And then that information can be pulled off of there once we're in travel drive on location and transfer to the Excel spreadsheet.
I think
That's
that'll
important.
be good. Be real good.
Has there been any discussion possibly on us looking at maybe even like an electric vehicle, since they're gonna be out there a lot, and I mean, if we can get them, is there any route that would save money there? I've seen other cities, code enforcement, one of the first departments that start looking into, electric cars, and we had, maybe one of the in-house charging stations here, I think it would be maybe beneficial. Maybe have one person out there more often and some people less than maybe in the office, I don't know.
I can look at that.
We can look at them.
Yeah, and then you can, if it have to adjust the numbers, because there's not too many used ones of those out there, I don't think.
I don't think.
I'll get with Ashley about this vehicle request.
Okay.
Because what you're asking for, we could probably find something in the state contract. So it's-
Yeah, it don't have to be new. I'll take a hand-me-down. I don't know, if worst comes to worst, we can use
That's
it.
what we have used, which is those vehicles, those state contract.
Yeah.
I think there's EVs on there, I think there's some hybrids on there. Pretty sure there's some hybrid vehicles on there. Then take a look and see what's so that, we do have one hybrid vehicle in the cities, of course, or two things. This gas ain't electric, but
Sounds good.
I'll get the best one out and take a look and see what's good.
I think the only thing in my budget I did ask for that we didn't have a line item for was a shirt replacement line item. I'd like to get them 5 summer shirts for everybody in the department. That's the only thing that we didn't have a line item for. I'm gonna be modest and reasonable about that, but we got Randy some, he's a pretty good sized boy, so I'll know the actual cost, we'll get the invoice whenever they come in.
So you guys do your own, we don't actually have a laundry service, you guys just
Oh, no, we
purchase,
wash them ourselves.
wash them yourself? Okay.
We wear them 5 days a week, all year long. These are the only ones. We got 3 summer shirts and we got 3 winter shirts.
So you want some tank tops, or what are you asking for?
Just something sampling, something to replace them with.
There is $1,500 in there, so it shows for
Yeah,
uniform.
that's kind of what we thought. That was the line item that we were creating.
Okay, yes.
If you move to the top of page 20, asbestos testing and sampling. This is one of the items that, we're putting it in ARPA.
It is, but we may need to pull that out of ARPA and put in, switch it out with a couple of the things from economic development.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what are we switching out?
Sorry. I had highlighted in yellow the asbestos testing and house demolition
Uh-huh.
to kind of take that out of the lost revenue from the ARPA,
Okay,
but I'm not sure if we can do that. So, but I know there's a couple of things in economic development that we can
Mhm.
switch.
Yeah.
That weren't earmarked to come out of that money.
I'd like to see us pursue that grant through the auditor's office or the DEP's office through with Mr. McCuskey and see if we can take a big bite of that out of there. And
Yeah, I think John's been working on that, John Whitmore.
So you're saying this house demolition is what, 375
That's what
is
Tom,
out of our ARPA monies?
well, that's what I had initially put it down as, but I don't know that we'll take it out of that lost revenue. But they still wanted, Tom and Ashley still wanted to ask for 375
Yeah.
instead of the 200 we've had the past couple of years. And then they wanted to increase the asbestos to 150 instead of the 100 we've had the past couple of years.
We'd like to get to be able to take a few more houses down, because if you get 6 to 8 fire burn structures, that eats up your money, you know,
Sure.
for other houses that's on the demolition list, you like to get down.
I thought we were taking that out of general funds monies instead of the ARPA monies. I don't think we should do that, should we?
At 200, I thought we were. I thought that the maybe additional 175 is from ARPA then?
Are you talking about what's on here now, or did you talk about it at another?
We've always heard the number 200 for a while now. So
Right.
the additional 175, is that work?
I don't even know if we can take that out of ARPA. So I'm thinking we might switch it around and not take this from ARPA, but take a few of the things Mr. Whitmore had asked for out of the ARPA. The lost revenue ARPA that we're putting as a contribution in here.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I don't think the ARPA funds would be good, on this for the
Right.
demolition.
Right.
I'd rather see general funds and then,
Yeah, we may have to restructure some
Yeah.
of the items, trade one for another.
So the 175 is to be better prepared in case more burn structures, or is there a certain list of houses that the 175 would account for that we have on a list?
We got, I think there's 84 or either 86 structures on the condemned list that are 2 years older or more. Now, not all those will be demo candidates, but we're doing assessments on them now, or this year's demolition list is already established, but we'll be assessing these for the next round of demos to come up.
how much did we spend this year, excluding what Public Works does? What did we have to spend on demolitions?
Do you know, Johnny, roughly?
Well, this year, I'm sorry, we haven't spent any of the funds yet in this fiscal year. We have 300,000, 100 in asbestos and 200 for demo.
For this year, and it has to be spent by June 30.
Right.
Also, we're going to do some spring demolitions to put them out there. Will we have a little work session to go over those properties so we can, we get called as council people and have a little bit of input of some houses that'll be put on that list?
If we can, sure.
If council's in agreement of that, because I know we get called quite a bit for stuff like that, and we really don't have any input, and I think we kind of should. And, long as they meet the criteria that's set forth by code, if we could maybe switch them around, if these are priorities that we're getting called on.
I mean, do you think it would be, you think that work session would be proper to ask how we prioritize those properties?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
that's fine. Yeah, I will support that.
Would you want to include the URA on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'd like to get that so we'll know. And I know Mr. Workman's working on demos, and those are the houses that he can do. And hopefully, as many as he could do saves us a lot of money. So,
Absolutely.
but
A
I
good
know
number of them are voluntary demos on this year's list.
so we'll have to get that out before long, and the time we do the asbestos abatement or testing and so forth.
That's all should be coming back. That's all been done.
That's all been done. So the structures that we will be able to choose have all been studied and tested for the asbestos and not removed yet, are they?
We're taking structures down now.
Yeah,
We're taking
I
structures.
took one down in South Chestnut
We
today.
have 2 structures that's left over from the list of this last one. One on Chestnut, one on First. taking those structures down now.
When you say we, the public works,
Yes.
yeah, I'm talking about the ones we want to
There's a
build.
list of fire burn structures that are out there now that have been tested or can be tested. That's going to go probably out to bid to take those fire burn structures down. And then there's a list of under volunteer demos. So this is where somebody approaches the city, signs all the paperwork to finance that through us, and we take those structures down.
Yeah, that's the list we got the other day.
Those now.
That's the list we got the other day. Was it on the council meeting, or we got listed like 6 of them or something? I don't know when it was.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
That's, we're working on those right now.
Now, those fire burnt ones will have to be treated as asbestos, so they're hot and they'll be cost us. Okay.
Now, they cost money.
And we can't do those in our landfill. We have to,
You can't put burn material on it.
okay, okay.
That's what I'm saying, the fire burn structures eat up a lot of your asbestos fines.
Yeah.
And that hampers you on your other demolition projects that you want to get done.
Yeah, that's fair. How many fire burnt ones are out there now?
There's 4 on the list.
Four?
4 on the list. We had more fire burn ones, but all of them wasn't total losses. Just
Okay.
total losses.
The one over in Addison, Walker on Pike Street.
Yeah,
The one up in Shell Lane had the park fire, was a fatality there. They're burned, they're not total losses.
oh, okay.
They're still under the insurance, that's how.
So we don't have to classify them as total burnt, you can get some asbestos samples done out of those. Okay.
This is kind of relevant, but I mean, the excavator that we're also trying to possibly get in this budget, is there a timeline on that if we were to go ahead for that?
It could be up to 6 months to 8 months, depending on where we go. Right now, we currently have one ready. We have ours back. We didn't have to do one budget.
No, we can wait till then.
We good?
Yeah.
Nothing on the remaining part of page 20. Up to the elections on the middle of page 21. All those items, there were no increases.
What is this for the election we're having in 2023?
We have a budget for this year, yes. But
Did you have
then,
to add that?
no, it's been there. We put it in last year just in case.
Yeah, there's money already appropriated in the 23 budget. It's there, if you'll see the second line, there's been no money's taken out of those. And we just put the same amount in for the 23-24 to prepare for the 24 election.
The 23, or this election, is there a chance that that you can get with the county to see about doing electronic ballots?
Sure.
Get with John Spires over there and see if we can use the electronic, because I talked before people voted to have it done that way. And we just haven't, I think you have to make contact and get that set up if you do that.
Yes, sir.
You may also want to know this 24, these are really estimated costs
Right.
because once it goes into the county, I don't know what they'll charge. It may be less than this because they'll be using the same poll workers. So these are just guesstimates actually.
Okay, top of page 22, Information Technology Department. Everything there remained fairly consistent with prior years. Citywide email was a small increase. The 2 largest increases that we're going to see are probably going to be in regards to the antivirus software. And she is proposing $58,223 or $273. This is a managed technology company that will take care of issues and help us safeguard against the incident that we had this year that we had to reach out for.
Where's that at? Which,
It's in the middle of page, actually towards the bottom of page 22. You'll see two of them in yellow. Wasabi annual license.
Okay.
And the other one is the Arctic Wolf. I spoke with the IT director at the courthouse. They use one called Carbon Black. He said they're about $25,000 to $30,000 more expensive than this one. But he's very familiar with Arctic Wolf. He said they're a local company, good relationship, good people to work with. He said they'll do just as good a job as the others.
Good.
Yeah, he said it's not some couple guys in a garage somewhere. He said this is a pretty reliable company.
Got a question about that item. With this 58,273 for this Arctic Wolf Management Detection Response, is that a one-time fee or is
I
that?
believe
gonna
that's a
be-
yearly. That's going to be something that's going to be, that we'll have to do. And she's provided some money, but obviously before we did this, we would get competitive bids for it.
Right.
But she just threw that one out because that's one that's local and that was just for just budgetary issues, for
If it's-
forecasting.
If it's yearly, I don't wanna have it, possibly come out of the.
No, we'll have to blend, the only time the only reason why we're putting in our ARPA this year is because, we're not prepared for it. It would be something that we would want to.
So this is, again, coming out of the ARPA funds?
Well, that's something that we need to look at.
Right.
When I had done this, I highlighted kind of all the new things. So we need to go back and look at that. There is a one-time cost, but it's only about $5,000.
I thought we were only doing all the ARPA funds, the one-time kind of things and equipment and whatsoever. It looks like this is monies that are put in to balance the budget.
No, that was my error in highlighting those. But we can switch it out with some of John Whitmore's things that are one-time purchases that I didn't include. We'll have that corrected for the next time.
Okay.
Page 23. City Hall, personnel services, contractual services. No changes in that page.
Will we look at that Advantage software too to do that?
Yep.
We actually lowered the total contractual services from 140,000 to 128,000, so there's a $12,000 decrease in that. $2,000 decrease in commodities. The capital outlay section stayed the same.
Are we getting rid of internet? Why does it say CityNet 0?
What page you want to do?
23. Contractual services, it's CityNet 0. And we're stealing Wi-Fi from the building next door, it's fine. We can save money.
Well, I remember there was some discussion in the last budget with Mr. Falk and Kim from IT about some kind of big ticket item, and that ended up getting nixed. I can't honestly remember exactly what it was.
Phone system.
The phone system, yes, okay.
This may be because, Jerry, it may be coupled with a different department, another department
okay.
now. I'll double check.
Yeah, the city that may be under, is it under Kim's?
It may be.
Okay. That should conclude everything down for the other buildings. They all remain the same. Debt service to the YMCA, that's the same.
So one question I do have is, waste management. I know, now obviously Neverport gets their own waste management and they pick up their own trash, but is there a contract with waste management through the city that they cover all of our services, or how does that work?
John,
Waste management, on this, the city halls.
I'm saying, but by, some cities have their own services and some cities, I guess, contract out. Is there a contract there or not?
Yeah, waste management.
Yeah.
I believe the city retained grandfather rights, so when we come back and use the can for the action contract, that's a product contract and handle resources citywide.
So is there not some kind of deal that we can make with them, say, we get free waste management since?
That was in place originally. That went south, used to be a dumpster at every location in the city. Fire departments all had theirs, public works had two. There was one in Tiger City Hall. And changed the waste management, that went away, so it changed to garbage service. That's why now you see city employees out dumping trash in fire departments, dumping trash here and there. We actually used to dump the trash in there to Mr. Falk, and he wanted to have dumpster put back in here, and that's what that charges you're seeing now. City Hall for waste management, that's for the dumpster out here in City Hall.
Can we not revisit that? A conversation with waste management?
Yeah, we can get rid of it.
Well, I don't want to get rid of it, but.
You're trying to go back, that battle was fought, and I'm sure that you re-established that battle with waste management, kind of put three waste service out of it, but you've been through that. Again, it was originally free, it was dumpster there, and then when that went away, all the dumpsters were taken out. Even at the parks, originally, they went down to 2 dumpsters at Public Works, and then we had to pick up all the trash citywide, including parks and everything, and bring it to Public Works and dump it. Which means it puts back in the garbage business, big trucks instead of garbage trucks and stuff.
The YMCA debt loan, 18,591. Is that what we pay?
This is the debt for a new HVAC system up there.
For a new HVAC system that we, when did they put it in, or they need that, they're
So we
saying?
put it in about five or 6 years ago, I think.
That was on last week's budget and the year before. I remember we paying the same amount.
So how many more years do we have on that, do you know?
I can't recall, but I can get you a copy of the debt service schedule.
any other questions in regards to?
Oh, the Baltimore elevator inspection, is that only required every several years or when there's an issue, or? I thought that was something you have to do every 3 months or every 6 months.
Okay, so your elevators and all your buildings are required to have an annual inspection. And you have to enter into a service contract. So now we have, Schindler comes in along with, the elevators, do the inspection, and there's also testing that has to be done annually or something. This year, I believe it was that one testing would cost us $37 to perform one testing. The service contract for the same money, it has that test included. So that's inspection. You do wall door, you use every parking garage, you see the wall door, inspection.
So there's no cost associated this year with that, John, huh?
Well, you do that.
Huh?
On page 25.
I think we're
Halfway
taking it
down.
out of levy now.
Huh?
I think we're taking it out of the levy fund now.
Oh, okay.
You're looking at 216,000.
Yeah.
You're looking at-
No, we're looking at, it's the general fund, John.
Which one?
Page
General fund,
25.
001.
441, we moved it out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the fund, we use it in the work. Fund. It was on the work process.
Okay.
Police department's next. You heard the speed limit.
You have a PowerPoint?
Are we into the, general? Page 26, we got this 351,624 unbudgeted contingencies. What's that?
It's our contingency, just how much we have in case of an emergency.
Is that like our rainy day fund or?
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, kind of, for the general fund. It's just, you just leave a cushion. If you can.
Okay.
It's a different chair. Okay. Starting on the personal services, the item that you see there in the salaries and wages, that reflects the new 5% COLA. And as we go down through the other increases that you see from previous years are as a result of the healthcare benefits. Chief Kitty can explain further in regards to there is a slight decrease of several $100,000 in the total budgeted amounts for his personal services, and that, I believe, is as a result of lack of officers. But I'll let him explain that. And then for some of that is also the $500,000 in police pension fund contributions that we kind of fixed last year. You'll see the same reflected in the fire department's budget as well.
Yeah, the only real raises in general fund are, the salary increases and insurance and those type of things. Actually, on the line items that I submit, operating costs and everything, the entire general fund was decreased $3,000 as far as operating costs, equipment or supplies or anything like that. Which I know it's not a huge decrease, but I believe over the last three years, I pretty much decreased the general fund with the police department every year. And even with the cost of rising of supplies and everything else, it's still got a little decrease, even though the salaries and not really the salaries, but with the proposed 5% increase, it going up, and the insurance and those type of things that I don't have any control on with the insurances and stuff. But the general fund did decrease. I went through line for line and compared it over the past year and the last couple of years to see if I cut some lines and raised some lines to try to make sure we have enough for the year. So I think we're sitting pretty good with that right now. Police department's budget comes out of the general fund, the coal severance, fine escrow, and levy. Those are the four main funding issues. In the coal severance fund, I'll just give you a brief overview. It's a $1,000 increase. That's the only item that comes out of that fund. It was always there. 2 years ago, it was removed for whatever reason. I put $1,000 back in it, and that pays for basically professional service for medical exams for officers if they're hired, polygraphs, psychologicals, or anything else that comes about with hiring policemen. That doesn't cover all of it, but it covers part of it because there's other lines we use to pay for those exams. In the police fine escrow, I reduced actually the police fine escrow for this upcoming year, $88,000. And the reason is I'm trying to build the escrow back up a little bit because I'm seeing that possibly within the next, not this coming budget, but the following budget, our tasers are outdated. We'll have to buy new tasers. We also need, even though we bought 20 portable radios, we still need more portable radios. And if we don't get a grant, or if they're not paid through the ARPA funds, we're going to need money to help buy new portable radios. And those are big expense items. Tasers themselves, depending on what plan we take, could be between $80,000 and $115,000 to equip us with tasers. So that's the reason I decreased some of the items in the police fund escrow to try to build it back up in case we need that. The biggest increase would be in the levy, vehicle cruisers. One cruiser went up $9,640 since last year on one car. That's from Ford. That's for 2023 that no one else can get. We were lucky enough to get 5 ordered. Everybody else was turned down. I don't know how our supplier got them, but we got them. They'll be built in March. 2024s will be coming out. Ford will not release a price on the 2024s yet, and I'm sure there'll be more than $9,000 increase. All in all, I did cut some of the other items in the levy funds that we used to try to offset the cost, but the vehicles and the equipment for the vehicles raised $56,000 total. That's just, that raises because of economy and everything else. That's the only reason. And I believe levy's been in pretty good shape, so I don't think it'll be a huge issue. None of that will affect the general fund or any of those things. And that's about it for the police department.
I see
No,
on
no
the-
major raises other than that one.
I see on the police fines, under the escrow, I saw House Bill 2471, they're talking about reinstating the ability of the courts, municipal courts to suspend licenses again for not default payment. I mean, I don't know what the 2019 numbers were for our budget, but maybe this may reflect more for this year's budget.
We could possibly collect more, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying, maybe when you're looking at the, the
there's
budget.
also a House bill that's being introduced to take our asset forfeiture funds and put it in the state's general fund, which I hope council will speak to their delegates. That does not need to happen. Because what it'll do, they'll take our funds that we normally get, that we buy equipment with, which isn't a huge amount every year. I mean, but it helps. And they'll put it in their general fund and they'll divvy it out where they see what they need to do with it.
Can you send us an email about that, and maybe we can you send us an email about that?
I've already spoken to delegates in this area. We've, they've assured me it's not gonna make it out of committee, but just in case.
Do you know what House bill it is? You got the information on that House bill?
Yeah.
Don't.
I'll email it
Yeah.
to you.
That'll work. Thank you.
So,
Any other questions? For Chief Jim? For the fire department?
get your PowerPoint ready, buddy. I felt bad I did that too.
Any questions for the fire chief's budget? Personnel costs are reflective for the same 5% increase, and mostly attributed to the cost increases for the insurances. All the other line items remained fairly consistent in the general fund. In fact, they lowered the training and meetings fees down to 10,000 from the 15 that it was set at. We did raise our uniform fees up $1,000 to help cover and offset those services there for the guys in the uniforms, but we do plan on using a third-party billing for rescue fees, and we're hoping to net some money out of that. We found a vendor that's going to do that for us. We put a very small amount in there because we really don't know how to gauge what we may or may not obtain. It's all based on the amount of accidents we have, and it's kind of a startup thing, so we're proposing a very minimal amount.
Do we still need to go to the county to get that?
The county, based on the information that I had with the meeting with Laura, probably won't raise it until they see more departments in the county utilizing it. Right now, there's currently Nutterford and more. Bridgeport is going to start if they're not already doing it. So there's only, obviously us. So I think once they see some of the others join in, I think their intention was to at least raise it to 1,000. I don't know if they want to go to the state limit of 1,500, but she said she felt favorable that they would at least raise it to 1,000. So this is just a very minimal amount. We're just kind of taking baby steps here, and we didn't want to overestimate what we're going to get, but we do feel comfortable that is going to be at least that much, or significantly more than that. But we didn't want to base a lot of purchases on something we've never tried before. Departmental supplies all remain the same. Most of the increases with the fire department came as a result of, or came in your excess levy and your coal severance. We've changed our, I'll let Chief Green reflect on that now.
Sorry, I was looking at something else. I was reading on down ahead of you.
Just getting this PowerPoint ready. I explained to him that the small increases that we made were mostly attributed to coal severance and excess levy.
Yes, we know some of the increases we have were because the increases going throughout the country all over. As far as gear and everything we have to buy, I mean, it's tremendously increased as far as being able to put ensembles together for firefighters and everything else. I kept it at a minimum as much as I could. I think we only raised the budget, I think it was like $7,000 to be able to keep up with the demands of everything that has been put forth in this country as far as increasing everything.
Excuse me, was there a line item for the rescue fees?
There is.
I must have missed it. I'm sorry. I know we were just discussing it. I could not
It's
find
actually
it.
not in a line item. It's on your pages with
Revenue?
your ARPA. It is on 30.
Oh, 230.
Okay. Page 30, I'm sorry. Okay.
706, 230, 05.
Yeah, it's the billing aspect of it. I was curious. I must have missed the estimate of it.
$150. We had 150,000 set aside. What the plan was.
All for the 150,000 set aside is where our rescue truck is needed replaced.
Mhm.
If we was to purchase anything like that today,
Mhm.
it's a minimum of 2, possibly 3 years before we could ever receive that item.
Yeah.
As the increases, I mean, the farther we put it off, the longer it's going to increase. So that way we could go ahead and put the down payment order it.
Mhm.
And then, whenever, like I said, it's 2 to 3 years out
Sure.
of being able to receive anything like that. So, I mean, if we was to have a malfunction in our rescue truck now, we have facilitated a way to get us by,
Mhm.
to be able to get one. But, we have to be able to think ahead and get it going now, because if not, I mean, it's pushing everything further and further down the road.
You requested one last year, correct?
I'm sorry?
You requested one last year?
Yeah, last year we had, and Harry approached, he had set aside or earmarked $450,000 for the truck and $50,000 for the new hydraulic tools. Our tools are not antiquated by any means, but we have series or generations of tools, and those tools, we have the very first set. About every truck or engine that we have has a set of extrication tools that should any one of them be out on a call, every engine is capable of doing rescue, or at least initiating some form of it at that scene. Obviously, the ones that are on our rescue truck here at Central Station are the best set, because they respond to all over the city. But each station has the capabilities of at least initiating or starting that. But the 400,000 was set aside and we did receive bids. We got 3 competitive bids, and it came in a little over 380, I think, for the truck itself. And then the total package equipped and ready to go was close to 430 or 445. But that money was earmarked out of ARPA, and then of course we found out that should we order it today, we're looking at 18 to 24 months, and that could even be longer now with production costs and supply chain issues. So we tried to be considerate of all the other departments and what they need now. We felt maybe, either, obviously, if you want to pay it all out of ARPA up front, that would be fantastic. But we felt at least if we could get the truck ordered, then we could, see how future budgets present themselves, and we could put it on a lease purchase. At one time, the fire department had 2 vehicles at any given time on lease purchase. We had them rolling every 5 years. An engine came on and then went off. We had 2 trucks in there at all times, so that, one was at 5 and one had just started. So that, we kept moving that. Well, in 2018 or 2019, those trucks all dropped off, and we kind of set aside and sat back, because it's a ladder truck was $1.3 million. That's a big truck. That's a lot of equipment, a lot of expense. So we tried to, escrow it, so to speak, and now we're to a point where we need to address this rescue truck issue, and we can either get a new truck or we can look for a used truck. So there's used trucks out there, but sometimes you get a used truck, you get somebody else's problem, and Johnny can reflect on that as well with Public Works. So this is obviously just one method. Taking the 150,000, we're not going to be able to buy the truck, obviously, but that's an upfront charge that we pay that much. We got that out of the way, and then we can try to work towards, facilitating the rest of it. We've got 18 months to decide, 2 years to decide how we're going to pay for it.
Where's that at in this? It's not in the budget, per se, is it?
Not yet.
It's not.
We put 150,000 towards it.
Right. It should have been on this ARPA, but I don't see it on there.
I don't see it. That's where I was looking
I
at.
saw it last night.
Uh,
I saw it last night on the when we got emailed.
It's on that one paper, like it has all,
Yeah.
it's written down.
Yeah, I was trying to find that on the ARPA. I just couldn't. You got a narrative?
Oh, it's in this.
Yeah, it's on that summary
Your
sheet.
budget narrative summary sheet.
This one, Jim.
I think it's on like the second page there,
Right there, Jim.
Page 3.
page
Look at
3.
the top.
Yes.
Yeah, second bullet point, third sentence.
Page 3. Or we could look at adding that into the ARPA as well.
whole third page.
Very
Oh,
good.
okay. Okay, if it's in there, but it's not in the budget, is there a reason?
It's on the excess levy fund, which is towards the back.
Okay.
Any more questions for the fire patrol?
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Nice PowerPoint.
It's a good one.
Dolly?
I have one more question. What happened with the discussion on the air packs? Where did we ever land on that?
2025, the air packs, if you don't mind me speaking to that. Go ahead.
The airbags right now that we have are 4 generations back from the current models available. All the parts that have been made for the airbags through the manufacturer are done. Whatever parts they have laid on the shelf at Pittsburgh, we are out. So we are no longer, there are some parts that are no longer available for the airbags. We had to piece together some new parts that the volunteer fire departments that replaced their air packs and given us air packs to nurse already along until we can receive new ones from the council.
Now, I know Brittany mentioned possibility of a grant, or am I making that up?
She is working on the grant right now. I have provided her with information of what air packs we have. Gave her an approximate cost of them, because it's changing daily, the cost of them.
Could we consider a contingency plan if that grant doesn't come through with the cost? And what was the overall cost?
$445,000.
Never mind. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, it was, that's $445,000 to replace our air packs.
NFPA requires you have one air pack for every firefighter that you have on your staff. So you have to have one air pack, and one air pack, or they call it a seat, consists of the air pack itself, one primary cylinder that comes with the pack, and one spare to back it up. So we have to have a minimum 45, and we have to have 90 cylinders, one for the pack and obviously a spare.
Your grants to acquire how many?
Yes.
45.
45 of them?
Yes.
And at a 20% match, what was was there a 20 match for that?
It all depends on who. Some of them, depending on if it's an AFG grant, it may only be a 5 or 10% match, depending on as you go through, depending on the class of your city and the amount of money you're awarded. It could be different amounts. So typically, they don't run much on those, much more than 10%.
Has she given any kind of feedback on the likeliness of this or the
That
success
grant will be
rate?
submitted sometime soon. I think it's got to be in by the end of this week. So, and then we won't hear the grant award whether we get anything out. It's probably up September, August or September, maybe October before we hear the grant award. That's why we didn't put anything in the budget. We run into a very similar situation that we ran into with sidewalk programs. If we start buying air packs, then, when you get grants for air packs, they won't pay for things that you've already appropriated for. So we're as a department, we need to act, but we want to tread softly so that we don't step on our own feet.
Could maybe there'd be a contingency plan put together,
Yes.
possibility of, just to.
As it stands right now, it's kind of ironic, as these volunteer departments get rid of their packs, we're taking them in, and we're able to utilize the parts off of Spelter, Reynoldsville, some of these departments that have been successful in getting grants. We're able to utilize their old packs, and they're providing them to us for spare parts. So we do have a stockpile, but that doesn't guarantee usability. All of our air packs went through its testing phase in October, and they all passed without any exceptions. But if you have any kind of catastrophic failure or breakage, some parts may or may not be available, but we've got plenty to work with.
The NFPA requires that the air packs be a 15-year life, or 19. We've converted them all in another 4 years above what NFPA requires you to do away.
Manufacturers like to put expiration dates on everything. You can't buy anything nowadays that doesn't have and it's all for liability purposes. Every piece of equipment that we wear as firefighters has our helmets, bunker gear, everything has anywhere from an 8-year to a 10-year, 12-year, 15-year expiration date. And that's just for general liability purposes. So we try to stay in compliance with that. Johnny, you're up. Most of Johnny's expenses, as you go down through here, there's been no significant increases in any of his line items until you get to the bottom of page 33. There have been some, I think fuel went up a good bit, but obviously we have to modify and adapt to that.
We made some adjustments there. And part of the fuel is paid by the sanitary board.
Right.
So it's split. So there'll be additional funds for fuel once we do the sanitary board budget.
We on page 33?
We are, sir.
I just want to see your uniforms and jackets went from 1,000 up to 10,000.
Okay, so that's a line item number that Harry created when he started buying jackets for the employees, fire, public works, started buying, a one-time winter coat, and you can replace that if it gets tore on the job. In addition to that, there's a $300 boot reimbursement. Okay, $300. It's not budgeted in here. It's been coming out of like crew supplies. They've been taking it out of supplies for the buildings. That's where they've been taking that funding from. So if you take, there's 26 employees in the general fund, and it's $300 annual charge, and you just do the math. That's a fixed dollar amount. That's $300 a year, every year for a pair of boots that a man can spend. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to spend that every year. Some guys will go 2 years before they get boots.
Is that one boot $300, or can they get 2 pairs?
They can get as many pair of boots as they choose for the $300. It's a $300 limit. So they can buy a pair of muck boots, for instance, for when they have to be down in the ditches, the boots, up to your knees, and then regular work boots for 8-inch, leather work boot to work when they're just working on the street.
Do we require steel-toed or no?
Safety toes.
Safety toe?
ANSI safety toe shoe has to be purchased.
It has to be a safety toe?
Yeah, and it has to be on the receipt.
Did the boots go up that much? It's been a year since I've been there. $300 seems.
I mean, a pair of muck boots now is roughly, and that's, just the old black, not the 12 buckle Arctics like they used to wear. We're talking about the mucks now, okay?
Yeah.
They're about $119 to $120 for a set of mucks. A good pair of leather work boots that are waterproof or water resistant. You're looking at right around $200, $215.
Okay.
So
It's been a long time since I bought a pair, so I just.
I mean, I just wanted to add some money to that because we were pulling that money from crew supplies or from, office supplies or building supplies. That's where that money was coming from to cover those expenditures. And then those line items are going over budget because we got an unbudgeted expense. It's a fixed expense. It's 26 men, $300 a man. I mean, and that $300, I'm not even allocating their jackets. I've got a couple of guys right now who have tore their rain jackets or have got tears in their jackets and have life studs. And they're roughly, we're getting those, we order them offline. We were getting them from Paramount, but they no longer carry the one that we have. So to keep everybody the same, we found a location online. We actually saved a little money on them, but they're about $90 to $100 to purchase one of those. They're the safety yellow with the high visibility striping, and they have a zip out fleece liner, so you can wear it as a spring or fall raincoat with the liner in it, where it is a winter jacket. So try to give them one fit all jacket and everything those. again, I was just looking at I was looking at the budget, and I was looking at an unfunded expense that was being funded out of other line items that's not what they were put there for.
I see.
I see there's the beautification supplies. There's a line item in economic development for 30,000. Now there's a line item here for 50,000.
Well, there's always been a line item number in the general fund under the street department for beautification. That's where that line item has always existed. Okay? I think last year we were at 30,000. The flowers last year run us roughly right around $21,000. Then there was, other purchases, the wraps that went under the bridge, the pumpkins for the pumpkin fest stuff, the mums that go out in front of the building. There's other expenditures throughout the year that we spend out of that. So right now, we're pretty close to, I think we got about 9,000 or 10,000 left in that line item. And I'm going to buy $20,000 worth of flowers in the spring. So we really need to up that. I wasn't aware that John Whitmore was going to put money in. I don't know what. I've got a note to myself to talk to him to find out what his intent was for that $30,000. So if he's trying to he may be thinking the same thing. He may be trying to budget for flowers, and it may be the planters that we talked about that we were going to put on the sidewalks and plant. That may be what he's looking at on that side of it too. So I do have a note to myself to get with him to see what that's about.
So there wasn't a standalone line item for the beautification committee last year?
There always has been.
I thought it was a standalone item, not in your budget.
Oh, no, it's always been, yeah. It has to be in one of the departments. The beautification committee is not a department, so you can't have a budget for that. It has to be funded through one of the other city departments. Alex, there was an increase. You can see I got an increase in tree removal and capital outlays. And that's because we spent almost $8,000 this year in removing trees for city right of ways that were considered to be either dead or a threat to private property. And we take a pretty good look at those. One of the trees we took down was a pine tree down on Elm Street that was right on the line. The tree was 250 feet tall. Okay, and it was an old white pine. So if that tree would have came down, that cost us about $4,000 to get that tree. And that was Public Works working with the contractor. They were cutting the tree because I don't have that capabilities. Don't want that capability. I don't want the responsibility of taking down 250. And this was a huge, huge tree, but we did the cleanup side of it. As they pulled it down, we hauled it away.
Yeah. And if they notify you that the tree's dead and you don't do anything about it, it'll cost you a lot more than what
Down the
you
road,
pay to
yes.
take it down.
Well, our insurance may cover, may not. Okay. But even if the insurance covers it, it increases our insurance rating, and then our insurance goes up.
Yeah.
So in the long run, you're going to pay double for that tree.
Right.
So now I've got a list, okay, of trees. The trees we took down this year were from last year. I've already got another list now started for people who are complaining about trees, that some of them need to come down. Some of them Public Works can do, and we do the ones we can take. The ones we can't take, that are the most liabilities of the city as far as damage, if something would go wrong, I'll leave to a contractor, because they're insured for that. And that puts the liability on them.
Right.
So I've already got another list started now for trees that we need to take down this spring or through the summer months to try to get down and get hauled away. There's your fuel pump system on. There's no charge for that now. It's already paid for. It's already installed. We just got to sit down. We got to come up with it's not the card system anymore. It's a keypad. So you punch in your employee ID number, which we got to come up with a number that everybody can remember that their ID number is, and then of course the vehicle numbers. And there'll be some reconstructing of the vehicle numbers, but that's not a big deal. We'll just move some of the numbers, like Park Board and Public Works, kind of, other than the PW or the PB, their numbers are the same on their vehicles. We'll just move them into another realm in vehicle maintenance and assign them another digit number, because you can't punch in letters.
Where's that? What page you on there, John?
Page 33.
30?
33.
33?
Yeah, that's where the uniforms and stuff was at.
About middle of the page.
Yeah, right on the cap.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then I got a couple of salt spreaders and snow plows. They went up. That's if we get the trucks Those trucks will eventually become plow trucks, so I need to be able to equip those. And plow frames are specific to truck models and truck frames, so it's not like I can take one off of another older model truck and put on a newer model truck. It doesn't work that way. So if we get the trucks, we'll need to be buying money for plows. And then you see all the highlighted stuff, okay?
You're not asking for too much, are you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that's on this list, I've been asking for years, though. That's the thing. It's, you know,
Yeah, it's a shame
7,
that it's
8.
gotten to this point.
Yeah, I mean,
That
you
the
ask for
equipment has
one
not been
piece of
replaced in the
equipment, 'cause
past.
You know there's a life expectancy. I mean, I
Sure.
do my job pretty well, and I know there's a life expectancy for that piece of equipment. So when we start approaching that life expectancy, I start looking for money to purchase and replace that equipment. And I understand that it's a big ticket item, and that's why you've heard me say, and I know you've heard Tom Brown say, we need to get into this mindset of escrowing money, funds to buy these big ticket items, to put money away year after year after year. Because if you have a 10-year life expectancy for a piece of equipment and you can squirrel away money for 10 years, just like you do at home when you go buy yourself a new car, then you have that down payment or a big chunk of that change. Okay, so the street sweeper right now, I'm just going to tell you right now, we have 2 sweepers. One's an 04 model, way past its life expectancy. Transmission's out of it. The truck's not worth even hauling it to Charleston, all alone putting the money in to fix the transmission. Okay, we've been scavenging it for parts to fix our 2012 model. Okay, which is past its life expectancy. At this point right now, okay, it's sitting at the public works garage. It needs $30,000 worth of parts to replace just the pickup head and the pickup nozzles. Just the piece underneath that the sweeper drags along and picks up the dirt. Okay, it doesn't replace the engine, the transmissions, the rear ends. It doesn't replace all the other functioning parts of that sweeper. So at the end of the day, you spend $35,000 because there's going to be some incidental parts once you start getting into putting that stuff in there and you start tearing it apart, because everybody knows if you ever worked on your own vehicle, you don't see all the NCNs until you take it apart. If you're going to put $40,000 in it and you're still going to have a 2012 sweeper, it's wore out. Okay. Now, that sweeper is an integral part of keeping this city clean. It's our curb line machine, and, and on top of that, along with we have a permit, the wastewater treatment plant, that we have to have a sweeper by the DEP. That's part of our permit process through the stormwater investors. I mean, I know it's a big ticket item, I know it is. And again, I don't know if you got a copy of the budget capital outlay sheet that was attachment. You'll see there's a notation on there, okay? There's some examples of sweepers and those and other pieces of equipment. Those are just to give you an idea of the market value, of what we're looking at in price. That is not necessarily the ones we're going to purchase. And we will go competitive bid and write specs like we've done for years, or we can do source well, if that's what we choose to do, is whatever is council's fancy. But at some point in time, okay, we're going to Band-Aid this sweeper back together again, get it back on the road. But at some point in time, at this point now, we're putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids.
Yeah, we have to do this, I understand. And it's good that we have this ARPA money, or we'd never be able to do all these.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing, so I know this has been let go by no fault of mine. I mean, I've got copies of my budget requests go back to 2014, 2013, I've been asking for this equipment. Not all of this at one time, a piece at a time over 4 or 5 years. If you don't replace it now, and then 5 years later, you need another piece of equipment, you still need that piece of equipment as well. And now you need 2 pieces of equipment, and the cost goes up. So I've got 2 one-ton pickups. We've lost a couple of trucks for plow trucks. We're scrambling right now for transportation. You may see some of our crews out right now cutting grass out of the back of the salt truck. I mean, they're plowing the salt spreader out there to get, because I'm cutting grass. If the sun's shining, we're cutting grass. Okay, so you see, I don't have any transportation vehicles because I'm running out of trucks, because I have to saddle up trucks and use them double up. And we've lost a couple of trucks. We've lost a couple of spreaders. This little mid-sized truck, a few years back, we had those little Canyons. They bought for administrative vehicles originally, so they were bought for the little small little pickups. And Chris Pinion used to drive one. They used to have one back in the mechanic shop. We took those trucks and we put small plows and spreaders on them, and they became a very versatile, very valuable tool to public works for alleys like Dublin Lane, Lynch and Jasper, where I had guys clean those alleys by hand. Okay, We actually even used them because we had two of them at the time. At one time, we had a truck down, so we were using them to do tandem plowing because they only had a little 6.5 foot blade on it. So we ran them side by side, one off key to the other one, get out to the whole street because we was able to use it as a backup truck. That's why that's on there. I'm not sure I'm going to fulfill that. It depends on what's available from the manufacturers and small trucks, okay? Because it's way out there. But if the money's there and we can't use it, it goes back into the budget. It's not like it gets taken somewhere else. It'll just go back as a carryover balance if we can't fulfill that. Or you can have it. The trailer is a small, we got two tractors that we're cutting grass with. Now we have a Mahindra and John Deere. I need a trailer to be able to get that. It's hard on those hydrostatic tractors to transport from here to the Life Science Center to cut the boulevards and cut along the Life Science Center. Okay. I mean, you put a lot of wear and tear on the hydraulics on those and the hydrostatics if you just run it up on the back of the trailer and pull it out with the pickup. That's where we're at with that. Okay, excavator. Right now we have one rented. Now we do have our excavator back. Okay, we sent it up to Ohio to a certified Hyundai dealership to get it looked at and have some work done to it. What I'm being told is Hyundai no longer supports that machine. Okay, so parts, there's some parts on it that we had to kind of rig even to get it to run, or very hard to get for it. So it's moving, it's running. It's running in deregulated mode right now. I've got one rented that we're using right now. Waterboard had it rented, so we just jumped on their contract and picked it up. It was set in the waterboard, we trained it up Chestnut Street, took it half on Chestnut Street. I rented it for a month. There's a big push to knock down all the houses I can knock down with this rental machine in the next month. We try to save wear and tear on our machine. But eventually, our machine's going to go down. And when it does, we'll either rent the machine, and the rental on that machine is going to be about $4,600 to $5,000 a month to rent that machine. That's not counting the delivery fee and the pickup fee. That's just the monthly rental. Delivery and pickup fee is anywhere from $400 to $600. To bring it to me, $400 to $600 to take it back. So somewhere down the road, we're going to lose that machine. And when we do, we're pretty much out of the demo business until we get where we can rent it. Now you rent the machine. Usually if we run demo, we run a 3 or 4 month span. You're spending, you're going to spend $15,000, $20,000 plus the delivery. You're going to be half the cost or a third of the cost of a machine in 1 year demos on a rental. And then of course the roof of the public works garage. I set that money in there. I got some estimates on some materials, okay? And everybody knows you can go Lowe's today and price a table board and go back tomorrow to buy it, and you're going to pay 25 cents more for it or 50 cents more for it. So I got some price of materials. I just kind of built a contingency into that. I am going to try to do that in house. It's a ranch style roof. We have the equipment. So
Metal roof?
no, I'm going back to shingles. But what's on there now is 3-tab 20-year shingles. They were put on there in 91 when the building was built. You can do the math on that. There are no visible leaks right now in the roof. We have some missing shingles. I've got some soffit that's blown off the roof, so it's starting to show its age. It's time. What I priced was 30-year architecture. Well, actually, they're 40-year now. 40-year architectural shingles to put a 40-year roof on it, and then I'd get all of us. Somebody else can deal with it
Yeah.
40 years from now. Okay.
Well, you got guys that are very capable of doing that.
I've got a couple of guys who are very capable of doing it. Yes, I do.
Huh.
I've got a couple of guys who'd be willing to learn how to do that. Okay.
Well, that's good.
So yeah, so we're looking to try to do that in-house in probably try to do it in late fall. You know, just so that I don't want to do it in July when money comes available in August. I don't want to kill those guys on that roof. So that's on that page.
I wanted to clarify, and this is more of a question for Kim, going back to the staff recommendations and the lost revenue to the general fund from the ARPA money. Is that, I just added up the requests that are on page 2, this page here. Help me understand, is that for that? Is that how I understand how it's going to be inserted? So the ARPA money will be inserted into the general fund.
Right.
And then that money will be used to purchase the things on page 2 and anything else that comes up.
Right.
Okay. That's kind of what I wanted to clarify. I came to, I accidentally added $1,000 on one going through it, but looks like $1.45 million plus the $500,000 for the sanitary board or the wastewater treatment plant budget comes to a total of $1.95 million.
And I need to take off, the things from the IT budget because they're not one-time purchases.
So that's, I mean, I guess we've kind of asked that a couple times tonight about exactly how that's going to work. So it'll be inserted into the general fund, and then that'll be used to make these capital purchases. I understand
Just
that.
the
It makes a
one-time
little bit more sense. I think we were all kind of concerned about what was going on, but I think it makes sense now.
Yeah.
So it's very helpful. I appreciate it.
So we're doing page 33.
Yeah.
Page 34 is basically street lighting. Most of that budget is electric bills, the top of it. It's basically the electric bill for the street lighting citywide. You know, that's your street lighting on your neighborhoods, on your bridges. So that's pretty much fixed income or fixed expenditures. About middle way, you see commodities, you see street lighting maintenance supplies. Now that would be to replace the bulbs and the fixtures and stuff on these lights that are decorative lights along Main, along Emily Drive, along Fifth and Baltimore. And then, of course, you got the 40-foot tall lights that go from Kroger's all the way, well, the old Kroger's, the gas station, all the way down to Anmore. Those big, tall 40-foot lights that are black that you see along Emily Drive, those are our lights. So that is to replace bulbs or whatever. It's a maintenance line item. I really didn't increase it a whole lot. It was actually not funded last year. Anyway, gotta buy them. I'm gonna put light bulbs in. Then you see the globes and inventory. That's for our decorative poles as well. That's the plastic globes that go on top. That would be. Those are. I left those line items the same, but there's no change there. Then we're into the traffic department. Really no major change in the traffic department.
Well, the traffic department, I see the wages and salary was $130,000 last year budget, and it's $201,000. What would be the increase of that?
Would that be the 5%?
Huh?
Would that be including the 5%?
It couldn't go up that high.
I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
That's not a 5% jump.
We have
What could
4
that
in
be?
traffic?
There's
I'm
only
showing 4.
There's only 3 in traffic.
That's what it is. I'm showing these 4. That's who's
Well, this is your foreman. Oh, so you're paying your foreman out of traffic. You're paying him out of traffic. That's what
unless you
you're
want me to move it.
That's what you're seeing that increase at.
Mhm.
Because they're paying the foreman, and one of the foreman's salaries coming from the traffic. He's still a general fund, but he's keeping it paid out of the traffic line items.
Even though I thought they couldn't do that if they were in a department like that, you could pay them out of a
Well, they're
different
paid out,
department.
they have to be paid out of some department.
Huh?
They have to be paid out somewhere. They have to be paid out of the general fund somewhere. You have foremen that are being paid out of the sanitary board. Some of them are paid from the sanitary board side, and some are paid out of the general fund. I'm sure they have to show up somewhere in the budget.
It's our newest foreman, came from the traffic department,
That's where
so
it came out
we
of.
just kept him in the traffic department, but I don't know if maybe.
Shouldn't you clean that up? And if they're in the traffic, they'd be paid out of traffic if they're
You
not.
want to, I mean, the other foremen are paid out of the street.
Street, okay.
So I mean, we can still be paid out of the street department still.
Right.
The bottom number, the general fund number for salary doesn't change no matter where you're paying out of what department you're paying them out of.
Well, I think it'd be cleaner though to have the same, if you got 3 in the traffic, that you're paying 3 salaries out of the traffic. I think it'd be cleaner. I don't see the benefit of paying from the traffic, huh?
Johnny probably thought that happened, but we just didn't get
Just move him out, yeah,
get
but
him moved.
Okay, will you make that change to put them in the?
Yep. Okay. So everything good with you on the wages and salaries?
Or are we on page 35 now?
Yes.
Like at the top there, again, you got health and life insurance premium that was
No,
That's all
27 and
reflected
now.
on 4 guys.
yeah, that's reflected
That's all
off the 4
reflected
guys, so
on
those will all
Is
have
that
to,
all, that's why all these will be.
that'll all have to
okay.
be adjusted,
Okay,
yeah, all the way down,
I see.
okay?
Yeah, because that caught my eye on those too.
And then we have our contractual expenses. Some of those line items I actually reduced a little bit because those are outside vendor line items and we're not really utilizing that. We're doing more in-house and less outside. So I really don't really need the money, so I'll cut some of that off. You can see there's a lot, but there's some cuts there. And the rest of it's pretty much the same. I did some slight increases on paint. There's $1,000 increase in paint, but the price of paint has went up. And other reason painting inside your house, or painting outside your houses lately, but the dollar amount of paint has increased quite a bit. That's yellow paint, blue paint, and white paint. That's what that is. That's my curb line paint. And we've really been pushing the last year or so. And in the neighborhoods, we're really doing a lot of renewals on every day right in the neighborhoods. But I can't afford to buy it all one time. I wish I could. Just do the whole town and be done. But it's going to be a lot of money spread out over the years.
Are we using old paint? Is that why
We've
there's
actually
a zero
moved,
in the
we've
actual?
actually moved to a latex because it's a little bit cheaper, but to save a little money on it, we've actually moved to a latex paint now.
Because I see just on the budget item of how much we've spent this year is zero.
That's because that's a seasonal item.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the purchase orders are actually out right now to buy that. We buy the paint now, so we'll have it for May, June.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Instead of buying it, when we get this money in July, this is money for next year. I buy that paint in July, I've got to find a heated storage facility to store it in. I had to store it for almost a year. I don't know if you go store paint on the shelf for a year and you go get it down, sometimes it's no good, especially if you're using latex. So we tried that a few years back and it wasn't successful, so now we buy it as we need it at the beginning of the spring. This money here will be for next year. This isn't the paint we'll be buying for the summer of 2023. This is the paint we'll be buying for the summer of 2024.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And somebody else stores it for us, and then we buy it as we need it. Yeah, that money, you'll see that money go now. There's the traffic department has a lot of seasonal line items because of just the nature of the work.
I did have a request the other day. Somebody, speaking of paint, right outside of your building at the end where you're coming before you get to 4th Street, it kind of like comes out like right there. Somebody requested that maybe we paint that yellow because people are coming.
Those butt outs. So
yeah, there's butt outs. Like maybe like one right at the end. I guess somebody maybe hit it the other day and they somebody saw that and they, unless I guess it's there. Somebody said that.
That's fine. That's not a problem. I think we need to renew the stripes over there anyway. I think those stripes are starting to fade over there too, and that parking areas that pull in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just. Sorry, I gotta make myself notes. You see the supplies for pavement markings, those are the bake downs, it's the crosswalks, that's the arrows, that's what that is, if you have any questions about that. Okay, you see this where it says overhead street marker signs. We didn't fund that, but we pulled that funding and just put it all under one line item for signs, because there's really no reason to have two separate line items for the same. That was actually put in there as a project at one time. We were gonna put the big signs over the main roads. So I just combined it in a single line item for simplicity. Rest of this is traffic control stuff. There's no money for holiday decor. There's no talk about that, so I didn't put any money in that. I didn't know, somewhere down the line, if you guys want to update that stuff, then we can talk about that in August for the next year. So we put that stuff ordered.
So the total, you went to page 36 at the top there. Is that where you're at?
Page 36 now.
Yeah. The increase would be based upon the aerial bucket truck increased at that much, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Which I've asked for since, again, a long time. The significance of that truck is without that truck, we don't work on traffic signals. We don't work on streetlights. We don't put up banners for festivals and events. That just doesn't happen, okay, because you don't have that truck. Nutter doesn't have one. I believe Bridgeport has one now. The state doesn't have one. They just called us about 2-3 weeks ago. We went and changed some bulbs up on Emily Drive for them. because they didn't have a bucket truck, but they're gonna change those bulbs in the traffic signals out there. We've been having an issue with that truck for a couple of years now. I really need to take it to Parkersburg now, and now it's because of the supply chain and quickly of parts. I don't think it needs to be repaired. But the only place it can work on is the Piny Motors, and it has to be hot shotted down there. If you put that truck on Route 50 and you go to East Point, you can maintain about 40 miles an hour top speed that truck will do. It has some issues that needs to be addressed, and has had. Okay, now I'm not saying that we can still get there, but I'm just saying that eventually we're going to lose that truck, and when we do, we're done. We don't have anywhere to get up there. So, again, I've asked for that vehicle, that same piece of equipment, year after year after year. It's an 04 model as well. Okay. Some of the stuff that we're looking at, we may try to keep as a backup, and some of the stuff that we're looking at, we'll try to get trade-in values and try to get rid of that, which will reduce the cost of what we're trying to purchase. Somebody else, or we could try to sell it straight out in an open sale, but at this point, I'm having more luck with trading them in. Okay. So that's where the biggest increases in your traffic. Yes, absolutely. Snow and cinders and salt, that's a given. I mean, that cinder cost you see is $3,500. That's a hauling fee. That's what that is. That's actually a trucking fee. Cinders are free. You get it from Harrison for free. They charge us for the cinders, but I have to pay to have trucks hauled to them. In the vehicle maintenance, there's quite a few here. There are probably some increases there, and that's mainly because of the price of oil and the price of parts for vehicles that went up. So you are going to see some increases there.
Again, is that because of numbers? You went from 80,000 to 143,000 or 89 to 143. Is that shifting the people?
I was just gonna ask him. I've got 3 folks in there.
And this, yeah, there's actually 4. No, you've got, okay, so Randy Bice is being paid out of the compost. Tom Burnell and Sean Van are both being paid out of the street, but then Wayne Jackson is paid out of Sam's report.
Okay, yeah, so I don't have them on there.
Yep. And he's in.
So if I should go compost?
Well, I thought we moved all those guys into vehicle maintenance. I thought we did that
Okay,
for
yeah.
the budget reason, for the contract reasons. So they would be working in that department.
Okay.
Because they're all.
Then they're good. So we did have to move them.
So you'll straighten that up
Those
to,
3 guys
It's
are all
correct
paid.
now, I guess.
Yeah, there's 3 guys that are paid from the general fund in that department. And then there's 1 guy that's paid from the sanitary board because they have a mechanic in there as well.
okay,
So.
okay. And that would change all those numbers, so I won't ask any questions about the rest of them. All right. The GPST, we went to 0, or is that the trackers or what is that?
Yep, that's the trackers.
So we're not doing the trackers anymore?
I believe they killed those trackers.
Huh?
I think they shut those trackers down for the second time now, yes.
We're not paying for them then, are we?
No.
So do you have to turn them back in or what?
No, we actually purchased, that was the thing about this, you purchase that device. So you pay for that device, okay, and then you pay for a data plan for each device, just like a cell phone, forever.
So we're not wanting to use them anymore?
That was taken out.
Taken out last year's budget, Mark took it out last year.
Last year's budget.
Mark took it out? So we wasted buying those trackers
We stopped that.
basically. and-
I would say based on, it was a $6,000 expense, so I'd say probably,
I mean,
that's about a third of the year, so probably 4 months worth of uses to the year.
Well, we probably paid a big upfront cost to buy those trackers and then we're not going to.
I think the last time we did this, we managed to sell the devices off. We actually auctioned those devices off, if I remember right. Sold them like on a gov deals type or auction type, and sold those devices to somebody else, to a courier service. The ones that we had before.
So where are ours located? On the trucks, or are they?
Some of them are, some of them are still in the trucks.
And some of them's in a box sitting down wasting.
Sitting in my office as they come out. I collect them, so
So there's a data plan for every single one of them?
every single one of them.
How many were there?
Oh, we had 50, 60 of them.
Well, that wasn't thought through very well to get that then, was it, if we're not going to maintain it? Better be quiet. Never mind. Keep going.
I mean, the public works, for the most part, we know where our vehicles are assigned locations. So they're working, Serpol's working on a fixed location, the guys cutting grass are working in a neighborhood. Our forms are pretty good about keeping track of them, making sure they're moving. But
I thought it was kind of for a liability, for a protection, to say how fast, if we have an accident, where we were at and so forth. That's what I was kind of sold on, that it
some of
was
the
more of a
information, you had to be careful with
liability.
some of the information you were pulling from those. I'll give you an example. If you go down Pike Street and you make the left turn through the triangle right there, my Heartland Plain will go back up Main, it flags it as a hard turn on your employee. Okay, and a hard brake, it throws a flag up, so your employee's making a hard turn and a hard brake. So if you don't know where that employee was and you're just looking at that side of it, you want to reprimand him because you're driving recklessly. Not necessarily, it depends on where they were located at the time. But anyway, I think it's a waste of expense, if you want my opinion. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, I'll say it right now, I think it's a waste of expense, but if that's what council pleases, we can go back to that and we can find out.
No, I don't say that. I wonder, if we're making that kind of expenditure, I don't remember that going through council. I don't remember approving that, but it could have. I'm not sure. I don't think it did, but if somebody's making that decision and then boom, it's just disregarded, it looks like we wasted money is my bottom line with it. I mean, I'm just saying if that should be something council, since it's,
I agree with you.
it should be an expenditure like that. Council should have some input. So if it's stopped, who made the decision to start it and who made the decision to stop it? Without any knowledge from anybody on this board that I'm aware of, that was a pretty big expense.
That happened in 2019 or 2020, didn't it? From our recollection.
Yeah, there was some time in it, but again, I don't think it came before the board that we approved
I
it.
don't remember, as a member of the audience out there, not remember hearing anything about it. I remember hearing about them, but I don't remember.
I'm the same way. I heard about it, but I really didn't see how much we paid for each individual tracker, how much the data plan was for, because that's a long-term thing, when you buy that and then you just discontinue because you got to keep paying for a service. That's a pretty big expense to just throw away.
I agree.
Okay, that's enough on that one, John.
So we're good on that, page 36 then? Again, like I said, we have some increase in line items only because, like I said, parts are going up, everything's going up, so. Anything on 37? See?
Diesel fuels went up, huh, John?
Diesel fuel and gasolines both went up. I don't know where that's going to end. So, and again, we overestimate what the increases are going to be. It's not like the money goes away. It becomes carryover balance. But I mean, I understand we're trying to get a balanced budget, but I'd rather be over balanced than under balanced, not have it funded and have a major overdraft on the account line item. Not sure where fuel's going to be.
I heard it was supposed to go up again, but it doesn't really affect me. Sam's Club the other day was down 316 or so.
I did make an adjustment. I found out about 8 months ago, that we were buying mid-grade gasoline, mid-grade diesel fuel. Vehicles nowadays are manufactured, we don't have any sports cars. Even the cruisers, they're manufactured to run on 87 octane. So I went back to an 87 octane, which is normal gas, which was some savings. It wasn't a lot, a few $1,000s or so on the year, but it was a savings. I didn't see the purpose of buying mid-grade gasoline. And we don't have those kind of vehicles.
Some of our cruisers used to use it, but they don't.
No, everything's, you look at it, they're all running on 87 octane. It's all recommended 87 octane. So I did make an adjustment there, trying to offset some of the cost of the fuel. Actually, I think we're over budget on fuel right now, are we not?
And this is only through January.
Yeah, we're getting close.
On page 37 here, John, or Kim, what's the annual debt service for fire and public works?
Is that the, I think that's the,
Is that the roof?
I think that's the roof.
Is it the roof?
No, because the roof is paid with ARPA.
Right, right.
No, is that
This
the
is
fire
something
truck?
2015.
And the,
That's their truck.
and the yard waste truck?
What is it?
I think that's the yard waste truck, garbage truck that we use to pick up yard waste, and I think it's one
I
of the
think
fire,
that is, yeah.
and the fire truck.
We had a loan on the two trucks and we put it together.
Yeah.
On the yard waste truck and the
Fire truck.
fire truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we still owe that much money on
Yeah, that one's not in there yet. I'll send you all a debt service schedule with the loans.
it? Yeah.
Page 38, you get the landfill, there's some lab testing and some closure costs. Closure costs are always gonna be there because there's a permit we have to pay for and all that. The lab testing is actually testing the leachate.
Leachate.
Now, I apologize, I got an email today from the DEP, but I really didn't have a whole lot of time to go through it. But I'm working now with the DEP to have them actually take over the cost of that testing. And we can get out from underneath of that, and we won't pay for that testing. Now, monthly, it's $50, $60 a month, but when you hit the semi-annuals, it's several $1,000s to do those semi-annuals every year. Again, it's not a lot of savings, but if somebody else has the responsibility to pay it all along,
Yeah.
let's pass that on to them. So I didn't get really good time to review through the email. I've had a couple of meetings with them, but I didn't, before this meeting, I had a whole lot of time to go through it. But so that may go away. Like I said, it's not a big savings, but
Right.
it is a savings. Then you're into the compost department.
I don't see any revenue. Is there a line item for the revenue that we bring in? I know it's not much, but
For,
compost.
All the revenues are at the beginning of the budget.
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't. Oh,
this is all
And there
expenditure.
should be a section for
that's right.
Yeah.
compost.
But as with the new tub grinder, eventually once it gets here, I mean, I know I'm talking to some locals. Will, did you bring it up? Somebody brought it up about that ability with the new tub grinder, the ability to make even more money and make some
Well,
changes.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's gonna make more money. It's gonna make the product better. I mean, we're gonna stay ahead of the product. So we run out, right now, we're cleaning up, there's nothing over the grind. We're cleaned up as far as grinding system. We're turning, our big push for the month of March is to fill that lean-to building up with compost because we ran out last year. Okay, we couldn't make it fast enough. We're not making millions of dollars on that stuff. I mean, we're selling it for 2 cents a pound, okay?
What about maybe reaching deals with other cities that doesn't have this? No, I don't think any other city in the county has this. Available.
Compost facilities, well, Elkins is our biggest customer. They haul a bunch of brush to us. They have their own program where they have dumpsters set out in their city. And the residents bring the brush to those dumpsters and throw it in those dumpsters. And they haul those dumpsters to us. We charge them the fee. We grind it, turn it into compost. But usually when they come in, they take out a big load of compost when they leave. They buy
Well, I mean, like Bridgeport, or Shinston, offer the service to them. Like we have the tub grinder, you can come in there, bring your yard waste, and then we can charge them. Waste management might do it now,
when it
but
opened, that's how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a 5-county waste shed. That was based on some state laws that were later repealed. So, but yeah, that's how it was supposed to be. We don't have a lot now. We get Shinston hauled into us. The state of West Virginia will haul into us if they're cutting local. But lots of them, they have their own dump sites where they dump it. If they're hauling local, they'll haul into us. The state hauls into us. But yeah, we don't see a lot. I see more residents. I don't know whether Bridgeport has a pickup where they go out and actually pick up yard waste in the neighborhoods. like we do.
I'm saying, but we could go reach out to them and say, hey, you buy your own truck, you know, that's something that you can start providing your citizens
Well, yeah,
and then
you
paying
could.
us a certain amount of money to.
Yeah. And generate another revenue.
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
But again, you're only talking, you're charging a penny a pound to dump it there, okay? And 2 cents a pound to haul it out. So. you have
Well, I mean,
way
Is
more
is
cost.
those prices consistent with, what everybody else might be charging, or has that been looked
I don't
into?
think it's ever really been looked at.
Could that be something our finance, looks at what other agencies are doing about cost and see if we can adjust ours? Ours probably ain't it. We've probably been doing that for years and
Since it
years,
opened.
since it opened.
Yeah.
So
And there's,
everything's going up, so that should too.
The last compost report, which I'll be looking for that here, so in the last compost report I got, there was whoever was doing that report up here, was a misconception, and they were assuming that there was like a commercial account and residential account. It's not. It's flat fees. It doesn't matter whether you're a contractor or whether you're John Smith off the street. You haul brush in there, you pay a penny a pound to dump it, and you pay 2 cents a pound to buy the compost. And that's 2 cents a pound for the compost, and we deliver within a reasonable area. Think about that.
Free.
Yeah, there's good fees gotta be up.
Okay?
We gotta look at
We're
that.
not even charging delivery.
And maybe not charge our citizens, but
Right, for outside.
Well, we don't go too far outside. I try to limit that down too because of that reason.
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna deliver to Grafton or, for not a fee. And
Oh, yeah, we
that's
deliver.
ridiculous. They gotta go on the other side of the Philippines to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay? So we try to stay in the county as much as possible.
Yeah.
With those deliveries, but.
Where are we at with that, tub grinder? I know we got
I've got
the,
to sit down with Brittany. I know she's got, the grant was supposed to be released in February.
Yeah.
I've had some questions about competitive bid, how that grant's gonna work with that.
yeah,
I just got her an updated price on the tub too for that, so she had to have that for an update for that. Won't take long to write a set of specs for it. I've built 2 of them, so it's, won't take long to put those set of specs together, and then we're gonna go, I don't know how the competitive bid, because of the federal money, how that's gonna work.
right.
So.
So would you anticipate that coming this summer or?
Want the tub?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'd say she's looking at, not on the delivery time one, I'd have to check her delivery time on it.
but possibly,
Yeah, I don't wanna get too involved with the vendors because I don't want them to jump the gun on me,
right.
because still stuff getting worked out there, but yeah.
Well, that'll be
Supply
good.
chain, but, yeah, I'd say we'd be into the new tub hopefully by early to late fall. I'm hoping how it works out for us, because that's when we really make hay.
Would you say early fall?
Early to late fall is what I'm
So
hoping.
we won't get that this summer then?
I don't, that'd be a question for Brittany to see when that money comes available. Once that money's available, I know she's working on the match grant. I know this is way out of my wheelhouse, okay?
Okay.
This is just a conversation I've had meetings with her and John. I know they're working on some additional funding, trying to pick up the match, the money for the match too.
That'd be great.
Okay? So.
Cause it was 300 and some, almost
Yeah,
400.
Over 300,000.
Yeah.
So there may be some additional funding that covers the match, which would be great for us. And then basically, once I know the money's, if you keep going to these vendors and you keep telling them, hey, I need a price, I need a price, I need a price, but you never had the money to purchase, eventually you lose credibility. They're just like, oh, you're just another municipality, you gotta talk to the mayor. I mean, that's you know what I mean? That's their mindset with you. And then they just kind of blow you off or brush you off. So I mean, it's just like the story of Little Boy Who Cried Wolf. You can't just keep going back year after year and a half. I went back year after year after year, getting budgetary costs and never getting the funding. So then you can't order. If the funding's not in here, there's no reason for me to go shopping. It's as simple as that. It's just if you don't have $25 to go to the grocery store, you don't go to the grocery store. I mean, I hate to use those analogies, but that's,
We understand.
But anyway, so yeah, I'm really hoping now, we're getting ready to move the building. That's getting ready to happen. The one from the library lot,
What is it
the
now?
building from the library lot. We're taking that building, it's going to the compost. That's gonna be our new scale out.
Okay. Yeah, cause it's not used back there now.
No.
Okay.
So, matter of fact, if you go down there in the daytime, it's really sad if you go down there, because we're down there a lot right now, because we're working on, there's 2 or 3 cars parked in there. And that's a whole lot of free parking.
Right.
There's no attendance there, and it's super, super underused. And I can see why you would be not gonna cost effective to pay somebody to set that building down there. There's not that many people parking there. I think the Robinson Grand gets more use out of it than anybody does. That lot behind the library?
Yep.
You guys probably get more use out of it than anybody does when they have events down there.
Well, hopefully they'll market that to park back there, because that's a good parking spot for the venues at the RG.
Last question, I don't know where it's at, the pavement or the paving?
That's in the levy.
That's what I thought. I still couldn't see it. My question is, I don't know what the number is, but.
400,000
It's
was it?
450.
450.
Is that down or up?
That's, I think, slightly out from last
A little
year.
bit. We were 400 last year, weren't we, Joe?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I don't know when the water board project's gonna get underway, but for us to not assume that we can have less money in that budget based on all the roads they will be paving themselves would be,
Well,
I mean,
again,
not this year, but at least next year.
We're working on our paving list now. That's based off of a couple of different lists. We had the 17-year plan that we paid a consultant to do for us years ago, and we used that as a guide. We had the streets that we had to cut from last year's budget, you know, because we're always, you're going to see $1 million, $1.5 million in paving. That's what you're going to see. And I know that's not going to happen, but that builds me a list for next year. You know, we work off of that, and then of course there'll be the evaluations of the streets that we have. And then there'll be, you know, requested streets, and that's understandable as well. And that's all built in there. Then once we get that list, that comprehensive list, I need to give it to the water board, because I need a list from the water board. I'm not gonna provide the water board, and I'm telling you, I'm not gonna provide with my, you provide me with your list, where you're gonna be, you tell me what neighborhoods and what streets you're gonna tear up, and then I'll cut those off our list, okay?
Right.
I need what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
When do you anticipate, when are you gonna try to pave by?
May,
In May?
yeah.
Okay.
Because we're actually paving for the fiscal year
That's
21 or 22, 23.
Right.
We're actually paving.
Yeah, because we changed from the fall,
Yeah.
based on your
There was,
recommendation,
yeah.
to the spring,
There was
so.
a hiccup there, and we end up moving into the spring to adjust for the hiccup, and then we just we get a better price.
Yeah.
Because the contractors are coming out, and you start bidding September, October for paving, those guys have already made their money. They're in the business. They make their money at the beginning of the year. They've made their money. And now they're just cream of the crop. That's all that is. They're just adding to their coffers. So if you
Yeah.
get them early in the spring, you get a lot better price, because they're coming off of
They're
several
hungry,
months of
aggressive.
making payments on that equipment with no income. So, but we can always adjust it. It's not an issue.
Sure.
It can be adjusted out if we choose we want to go the other way.
Yeah, that would be a thing too. I would like for council to be able to look at the proposed list, and if there's streets that you're getting a lot of calls on or whatever, that they could be added up somewhat, if we could do
I'll
that.
usually send an email out to the city manager to make contact with you guys and
Yeah,
get that feedback back.
okay, yeah,
So,
good, thanks.
that's actually over in the levy. I'm pretty sure it's in the levy.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Going back to that, give me a second here. The debt service for the annual debt service, 2015 fire and public works. I'm assuming that's what that is. And then we got back. Well, I know we talked about that being the leaf truck. Is that again listed at the 12? I'm assuming cylinder non-CDL truck Packer unit on page 39.
Isn't the yard-based truck different from the Packer?
Or is that different? A different truck or?
no, that's the Packer truck.
Oh, so that's different.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
different.
I will verify what that is
Okay.
then on the other one.
Yeah, I know the only reason I caught it is because we just mentioned it. So
That's
okay,
12
we-
cubic, that's 12 cubic yard non-CDL truck.
cubic
Packer.
yards, okay.
Yeah. So I know the fire truck was in this one. I remember seeing that in the other budget. But I'm not sure about what they're saying in public works. But I know that was that fire truck.
Yeah, that's on 37.
Yeah, 37. Okay. Are we good with the compost? Anything else there? You see some other tree line item numbers in there now that are in the compost. That's to trim the trees at Jackson Square. That's, it's just kind of That's trimming trees, some of our shrubbery, some of our stuff, is what that is there.
It's like a big increase total over Public Works, nearly $1 million, it looks like.
A lot of that's equipment.
Yeah, and that's gonna be funded, correct?
There's almost
Inserted into
there's
the
almost
general fund through the ARPA
$800,000 in
fund.
equipment,
860.
so 860,000.
Okay.
So you're almost, your million's almost in the equipment.
Gotcha.
So. That's it, we're in the full service after that.
You good?
Well, yeah, because the other line items really aren't general fund, but we're budgeted there.
Last but not least is park board. John submitted a budget that was almost identical to, he didn't change any of his line items. You can see, with the exception of 5% salary increases and the increases to healthcare, that's the only increases that John submitted.
Is John doing okay? Yeah.
John's doing okay. He sent me an email. Said he would be available by phone should we need to ask him any questions, but he would have somebody here for sure on the 28th or whatever day you decide that week.
Are they, it was mandatory last year at this budget to put 2 salaries in. Where are we at with that?
I think if you look at the salary that she's got presented today, it should reflect a decrease in public works salary. Is that correct, Jim?
Parks, yes.
Park salary, which would be reflective of John's departure date, that he would be what, April?
Sometime in April.
Do we not have a new superintendent that's in training?
To my knowledge, no, we do not, that we do not. Unless
That we do
he's-
not?
Unless he's got somebody in-house he's shown. There
Okay.
has been nobody, to my knowledge, hired for that purpose.
Yeah, because I remember last year it was pretty imperative to have 2 salaries for 10 months, but we didn't have that. Okay.
So that should take us through page 41, down to the middle of page 42. Again, there's budgeted salary for parks was 1.28 million. We're proposing right now a budget of 1.228 million, so there's about $50,000 reduction, maybe a little over that, in total park expenditures for the 23-24 year.
You have the debt service schedule for the park or the city parks too? And you have that?
Some
when you-
items, yeah.
Okay. I see the water pool or the children's
Yes.
water play pool.
Next item is the rainy day fund. We're proposing again another $200,000 deposit for the rainy day fund in the next fiscal year. And then the last item is the contributions to the,
Excuse me, I'd like to address the chairman. Due to a conflict of interest, with me being on the board for the United Way and also their 2022-2023 campaign chairman, in reflecting on this and seeing that there's also other partner agencies within United Way, I'm going to have to recuse myself from discussion. And I'd like that to be put in the record.
Okay, sure.
Just throw something at me when you're done.
All right.
I did want to mention the rainy day. I know Chief Kitty mentioned it when he was intern. That what we were putting in there, 200,000, wasn't enough, or wasn't maybe up to par what other cities of our size are doing, and maybe we should look into that. I guess he left.
Probably not even close, Jerry.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know what that number is, but I would like to look into possibly trying to find an increase in that. I mean, if possible.
Okay.
Or at least.
Yeah, for a $20-some million budget, 200,000 is like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
That's not very much of a rainy day fund.
What do we have in it now? Was it
The balance, by the end of this year, it'll be about 743,000.
That's not counting this 200,000 that
Yeah.
we're.
It's in your summary.
Not counting the budgeted for next year. After that, it'll be 943.
If you look on top of page 2, Jerry, our contribution of 200,000 would change up to what, 945 at the end of that year.
But I will agree with you, Jerry, on that. That probably needs to be looked at if we could put some more into that rainy day fund. That's at all possible.
As we go down through the contributions to the other agencies, CVB, slight increase there from 125 to 130. Harrison Public Library, 232 to 240. Health Department remained the same. Health Access is the same.
Is that, I'm sorry, is that CVB, the 130, is that half of what we
That's half
take
of
in?
it. Yes, half of the hotel tax.
Half of that, so we're taking about 260 in?
That's what we're estimating, yeah.
That's what we're estimating.
A little bit higher than last year.
Good, okay, sorry.
Sorry. Slight increase in cemetery preservation, 1,000. A larger increase to the Historical Society. Looks like about 5,500 for them. Clarksburg History Museum, actually a pretty sizable decrease. Castle's the same. Housing Authority, Harrison County Senior Center, Literacy Volunteers, $500 increase for Homes for Harrison, United Way's 5,000 again. For total contributions of 449,650 compared to 447,900. So just a few $100 difference in what we budgeted this year and what we're preparing for next year.
We just put in what they requested.
Yeah.
Right.
For a total budget of $21,824,550.
No, they'll come in the 28th or whatever meeting, or it'll be the following one.
Yeah, whatever date, if we could set that date tonight, that would be fantastic. If you could do that.
So
If you could-
the
He
next,
wants that
If you
date.
could pick a day that week, that would be great.
I like you email me a few times on that.
We have no right to pick a date,
I'll let you know what day.
especially
I'm
not
gonna
you,
do.
Jimmy.
Do you want to go over Ian's budget while he's here, please?
We put them all the way last.
While he's here, huh? Are you awake, Ian, for this?
It's usually late nights. He works at drop.
If you'll look through towards the
What
end.
page is he on there?
All the way at the end of
The last one.
Past the escrow and everything.
He's way down here.
I guess Wayne can come back in here if you want him.
Oh, he did tell me go get him, but I'm gonna leave him out there. I want him to cool down. You had enough?
You ready?
Excuse me.
You should have conflict with Roxy Green.
Councilman Worthman on the RG's budget. It's the last one you'll have in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, you're up.
I think the summary that Kim sent out to everybody really summed everything up extremely well. If anybody's got any questions for me on that, but our revenues have really been excellent this first 7 months for the fiscal year, so I'm really pleased with that. And then the only things I really asked for in terms of expenses for an increase of next year was a little bit on the part-time employees, kind of a significant increase in the promoter fees, and then anything where we can get extra help with maintenance and repairs on the building. I think if we continue maintenance rather than waiting for big ticket items to get run down and broken, I think that will be the best way to do things moving forward. We do have a few repairs that need doing now, and we're working through that process with everything. But as far as I'm concerned, everything's looking quite good on the budget. I'm hoping everybody else agrees with me.
Certainly looks good. I was pleased with the report, or the summary rather.
Now, all revenue you guys bring, it stays in your department, right? Like any revenue you bring in, it stays in your department. It doesn't get thrown back to general fund or anything, right? That's what I thought.
Can we just go over some of these numbers? I just had a couple questions. Or if we go on page 1, I see the event sales now went from 300,000 to 6. That money's coming in. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're projecting, like to double?
I don't think I've done any of those numbers, but I think the reason that number is there is because our ticket sales are already well over 100% of this year's budget. So I think that's
Is that a good
it's
number?
a goal that we could get to. It's not going to be easy, but it's certainly something that we could do.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're already at 377 right now.
Yeah. So at the last couple of months of the fiscal year will tend to be more rental income rather than ticket sales, but I'm comfortable with that number. But it is a big jump, I would agree.
Yeah, it's a significant jump.
Yeah, I mean, we're just doing more events.
Wow, that's tremendous. That's what we want. That's not a bad thing, huh?
Yeah, I looked back at 21-22, the actual was 207, and already in the end of January, we've almost doubled that. So
That's good. We like to hear that. And so you kind of explained on that the processing fees. They went up from 55,000 to 90,000, correct?
Yeah. So basically, the more tickets we sell, the higher the processing fees are going to be. So the processing fees are really going to be a direct correlation to the income that we take.
But if the processing fees would be an expense, right? We're going to spend more. Is that correct?
but we get the income when the people buy the tickets.
Every individual ticket comes with a processing fee tied to that individual ticket.
You are right. We charge a processing fee, but then we have to pay a smaller processing fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because you have to pay for.
Yeah, we have to pay our ticket company, credit card fees, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so this would be the final number. That would be more of revenue, right?
On this first page, yeah.
On that first page. Okay, that's just got to clear that up. No, that's all. That looks good.
Yeah, up until the halfway down the second page, we're all dealing with revenues. We're not dealing with expenses.
And I see here too, Ian, where you have just this actual for this year for the membership fees. That looks like that's something new. I mean,
Yeah, that's something we started this year.
Where you at, Wayne?
this down where it says memberships or contributions from other entities. 104 towards the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So we've been selling memberships to anybody who wants to purchase them for $375, which gets them early access to purchase tickets, free movies, and I think a 10% reduction on any kind of rental fee that they want to do in terms of renting the ballroom for a party or anything like that.
Now, is that annually, or is that just a one-time?
That's
membership?
an annual thing. So we did start selling them, I believe it was in September or October for 2023.
Oh, okay.
But then at the end of 2023, the people that bought these will have to pay again.
Yeah.
If they choose to do so.
I mean, that looks really good. I mean, I know you only anticipated 4,000 in revenue, going forward for 2023, 2024. But I mean, if you've raised this in the last couple months just on membership fees, and I would imagine that would significantly go up.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just started the program, so who knows which way it's going to go at the end of 2023.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think we're going to be selling them all year as well. So.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty creative, and
It
that's
is.
the way you have to do things. That's outside the box. We had never had that before, so I applaud you and your staff down there for doing it. That's
I think
good.
that's been an idea that's been on the table for a long time. It was just never really executed.
Yeah.
So we just put it into practice.
Sure. And I see something that sticks out, and that's probably because you're busier, I guess. I see on page 2 of 4, part-time wages going from 50,000 up to 100,000. That's double. Is that due to you're doing more shows and more functions, or what's that cause of that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, 100,000 is probably overestimating it at
Okay.
this time.
Sure.
So that is an area where I would be comfortable to bring lower if necessary. But yes, obviously the more shows we do, the more times we have to have all the employees in working, and the more wear and tear on the building, the more cleaning. So instead of cleaning once every couple of weeks, we're doing it twice a week. And that's, it's a lot to take care of down there.
It's good. Yeah.
So I guess the next question would be down the expenditures is the promoter services. I saw it's a big increase. Is it going to new promoter or several different new promoters, or?
We've used 3 or 4 different promoters this year. In the past, I've just used one. So we've been using a lot more. But anytime we use a promoter, that means that they're paying for the act. So I'll use Rodney Carrington as an example. It was a new company that we used here recently. Somebody like Rodney Carrington is going to cost between $40,000 and $50,000 to perform. So the promoter is taking all the risk, and then we're charging rental of the facility, any labor, and then we take a $8 per ticket sale. So again, using Rodney Carrington as an example, total revenue would have been about $70,000. Robinson Grand would have probably taken 12. Promoter, probably around the same, and then Rodney Carrington would have got but I've sat in front of promoters at the end of the evening who've lost money because the act's been so expensive and there hasn't been enough. But we're still getting the rent and the ticket sales. So it's a no risk way of running the events.
There's no contract with each individual promoters or anything, or there's no crossover maybe with the city parks and the AMP with promoters here. There's no long-term contracts or anything.
No long-term contracts at all. So it's for us, it's an event-by-event basis. And the only thing that we really try and do is we try not to cross genres. So we don't want to have 3 country music promoters. So what we've tried to do is right now we've kind of got a country music promoter, a Christian act, and then the last one, obviously, comedy. And then we're looking at trying to get into a few more areas as well with different people. So anytime we can use a promoter, I think it's good for us, because a lot of the time they're going to bring in the more high ticket people who've got name recognition. And again, the reason that the fees have gone up is because we've made more money, we've had to pay the promoters more.
I mean, do you feel with the fees, with the promoter budget increasing, do you feel that will bring in bigger bigger acts more frequently?
I think it gives us the opportunity to take new promoters on, and as long as we are, evaluating them properly, we could definitely do more bigger ticket shows. We've got to be careful about saturating the market with everything, but
Right.
I do think we could do some more shows where they're really high name recognition.
That's pretty
But
awesome.
but acts are very expensive,
Mhm.
very expensive. Even some of the things you wouldn't even think. Some of these just local regional singers, they're $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 to bring in. So there's not a whole lot of profit margin on those guys.
He's asking because he drove over to Charleston to see Rodney Carrington, so he's worried about driving over to Charleston.
That's because I didn't get a membership and it was already sold out. That's my fault.
Any further questions on the IG?
Keep it up.
And then one line item I was very grateful for, so I do appreciate this, was the contingencies at the end. There's a bigger number there in the budget. I think that's a bigger number. It's like 54,000. So hopefully we'll never have to use that, but the idea of having a contingency in the budget is great as far as I'm concerned, because you never know what could go wrong.
Sure. Or what kind of opportunity will come up where we can tap into it.
Exactly, yeah, where you could spend that and get double back on an act. So yeah.
Well, Ian, thank you, and this
Thank
is
you.
good
Thank
stuff,
you.
and
Yeah, great
we
news.
appreciate what's going on down there, and the community does too.
Thank you.
Ready?
Are we done?
Are we going to a new one?
Next general fund is complete. If you guys want to go over the
I'm
close
gonna-
service, we will.
Step away for a restroom break, just for 1 second. I'll be right back.
You can peruse
I'd
that.
If
go,
that's
but
okay.
I'll keep going if I leave.
You guys, yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I'm like a kid, Steve, my attention span's
Me
shot.
too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, let Drew go.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see you over there. I forgot about you.
We can let Drew-
a 7-year-old here.
Go ahead, Drew.
Alright, we'll get the update Tuesday anyways. So, I'm presenting, we're gonna try to have this on your, next council meeting agenda on the 16th. We're requesting 500,000 of the ARPA fund to help fund the next phase of our long-term control plan, which our long-term control plan is, the DEP makes us have to have this plan. We have to improve the line and the wastewater plant. And we have plans all the way up to 2040. So right now we were behind, and this next phase was supposed to be scheduled originally for 2024. Then it got moved to 2028. But now with the funding that we're trying to set up, we can actually get back on track. And we can start bidding out in January of 2024. So we're requesting 500,000, and we're going to use it to get our economic enhancement grant of 1.73 million. So that means if we don't have the 500,000, we will not get that grant. So we'll have to take out more loans. So Thrasher did a good job here of breaking down, because we're going to do it in two different projects of this phase 5. And then the pages behind it are part of the DEP application that was turned in, and it just tells you where the funding is going to go. Broke down a little bit. And as you can see on each project, there's about, if you take it, $3,000 of it will be forgiven from the DEP. So we will not have to, so out of a $12 million, $3 million of it's forgiven. But some, if we get it, they don't see a problem with, they could get passed here in September, October. If we get the money, everything good, we're going to start bidding out and starting ordering stuff in January, February. But our request would be for 500,000. We're gonna bring it in front of the sanitary board to vote on Tuesday, and then if it passes, we'll hopefully have it to you guys on Thursday. This funding actually is due this Friday, so Anthony's actually entering it, that we were doing it for the DEP purpose. I told him just go ahead and put it on there, that way he could get it sent in on time, and then we would work with it after that. But that's currently about the request that we have as a sanitary board as a whole, which this is gonna do some wastewater plant upgrades, and then you're also doing the interceptor down on Milford Street behind Old Vito's. And then you have a downtown sewer, and then they're gonna continue the sewer separation from Notre Dame to North Ohio Avenue. So this is something that we have to do every so many years that we're required to by the DEP. So we've just selected a couple projects each time that needs addressed. But I think we're using this 500,000 as leverage to get the enhancement grant, but we're also using it for the DEP to give us the money, because you have to have a 15% contingency fund now. They're requiring. They used to require 12%, but now they've raised it to 15%. So with this amount of money, the contingency fund would be 500,000. So
Would this be inserted into the general fund or the sanitary fund?
this would be inserted into the sanitary board.
And we're clear on being able to use it to.
Yeah,
go after
because
a
it's
grant?
going to go towards improving line work and stuff.
Infrastructure.
Yep, this is all
Well,
infrastructure.
My concern was, I know we've talked about this past, was using the ARPA money to acquire grants through the federal
Well,
government.
this wouldn't be, we're not using it to acquire grant. We're using it to say, hey, we have 500,000
Yeah,
of
so
our
it would
own
be
money, and
inserted
then
into the
that would help
sanitary
us get the
budget.
economic grant. But it's
Okay.
not actually, we don't have to match that grant. It's not matching that grant.
Okay.
No.
So this will go into a project.
Yes.
Okay.
So the 500,000, they have it set for different things to buy. Like at one funding, we're going to split. The original idea is to split 250 for phase A and then 250 for phase B.
Okay.
Most of it will probably, I would say, would end up with Johnny on the line work. But everything that we're doing down at the plant fits in with ARPA as well. So
Okay. That's good.
that's just for something for you guys to think about. We're going to get it on Tuesday's sanitary board, and once it passes, Steve was talking to Annette, trying to get it on your guys' agenda for Thursday. That way we can, if they call and say, hey, do you really have yeah, we have the money. So it's not a question of, oh yeah, we have it earmarked. So it's a question, yes, we're bringing 500,000 to the table. We're ready to move on this project. So Thrasher doesn't see a problem with us not getting approved for anything. So it looks like we're going to get approved about September, October. And then if we can, we're going to start ordering in January bid now.
And I know this, this phase 4 is required by the DEP, but my question, do you think when this project is finished, do you think that would take a lot of pressure off our old aging sewer lines?
I think anytime you remove stormwater, it's going to, because when you get a lot of rain, you end up treating just rainwater. So,
Okay.
And it's going to help John, especially on Milford Street. You're replacing that little bit of rerouting that little bit of section. I mean, it's not much, 1,000 feet you're rerouting, but that's a big problem right there. It's flat blocks. And then we're looking to add another belt press and rebuild our belt press to haul sludge out, and which right now we already redoing the thickener. So parts are starting to come in on it. So it still looks like it's going to be started in May. It should all be here to finish it. But I think this is a good start to get going.
It sounds good.
And that's all I have. Just wanted to get you guys these numbers tonight so you could look over it before next week, so I didn't just surprise you with numbers. If you have any more questions,
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, the remaining balances or the remaining funds are coal severance. You want to go over those? These are kind of fixed, I believe, on the next one.
They're pretty much the same as last year.
Yeah, we got, if you want to look at that, we can. If you want to peruse that on your own.
We'll do it on our own.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one,
Yes, sir.
request that maybe we put together, maybe two budgets, maybe one with this as a possibility, is because we've discussed the addition of the position, full-time city attorney / city, assistant city manager. Just, have one version maybe of what it looks like in one budget and have another version, obviously moving forward without it.
Okay,
That's one position.
one position.
Yeah.
Okay. You want us to use numbers from the West Virginia Municipal League for benchmark salaries?
Yeah.
Okay. Financial stabilization, rainy day funds, sales use tax, these are all funds that are pretty much consistent with operations. So that concludes our review for the evening. We've given you a lot to look at.
Hey, Chief, I didn't see you come back in. I did, you mentioned what other cities, you thought that we didn't put enough in our rainy day fund? I thought you mentioned that one time, and you had a suggestion on maybe other cities that put more in the rainy day fund?
I've never looked at another city. I mean, I'm looking at it, and I feel every year they should try to build it. I did find somewhere a certain percentage.
Yeah, you too. That's awesome.
I think this year, we have that close to me.
After next year, it'll be close to
Close to me.
Do we need to adjourn this meeting?
Well, motion to adjourn, huh?
Do we have a second?
I don't think.
All in favor?
Maybe not.